that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
But really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here special episode of the Degen Roundtable, where we're going to be interviewing our special guest, Dr. Chen. For those of you at home who do not know who I am, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm going to be your host for tonight. I am joined by my fabulous co-host, Mr. Nate McGettit, the Ascending Man, as well as our special guest, Dr. Chen. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Chen is a pediatric radiologist who focuses on personal health optimization and content creation to spread general health awareness, which more or less includes nutrition and navigating the disgusting, monstrous beast that is our Western hospital system. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight on this fantastic Wednesday. I'm going to kick it off to my fantastic co-host to let him just describe to the folks at home who he is, what he does, what's new and exciting with him, and then we'll hop into the meat and potatoes and do the same with Dr. Chen. So, Nate, what's new, broski? How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I just got done recording a video. I'm editing it now. I'm going to be uploading that real soon. That's my third one now. But yeah, so really cool stuff there. I am the Ascending Man with the Degen Roundtable, Nate McGettit, and I'm looking forward to this one because usually it's, we're crypto focused. That tends to be like the financial side of things. However, a really important part of not just finances, but also health as well. And this is why I'm very interested in how this episode is going to go. I hope you guys are going to have a great time as well and be as excited as I am to learn about this, because there's a lot of things that I have been learning as far as health wise goes. And I'm really hoping that I can learn quite a bit here from the Dr. Chen, which, by the way, you guys don't want to hear me talk. I'm going to go ahead and move it over to our man over here, a special guest of honor. Take it away.
Well, this could be a really good episode, or we could get canceled by YouTube. We'll see. Let's see where it goes.
Bro, we're a bunch of fucking degenerates over here. We are looking to get canceled as soon as possible.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. So for the folks at home who don't know who you are and who don't understand my little introduction, can you give us a brief history or synopsis of who is Chen, and then also tell us what's new and exciting with you, amigo?
Yeah, I love your intro, by the way. I was looking at it for the first time, and it says not financial advice. Well, I'll have to put the disclaimer here that this is not health advice. So see your doctor if you have any personal issues with your health. Obviously, I just give mild general advice. It's not for everybody. So let's keep it there. And then me personally, so I'm a pediatric radiologist. What the hell does that mean? So I curate medical imaging for kids. So that means the study needs to get performed correctly. I make sure that happens. And then ultimately I interpret the images and put out a report for whomever ordered the exam so that they have the information that they need to allow for proper diagnosis and treatment for their patients. So that's mainly what I do. And that's my primary source of income at this point, but I have a lot of other interests. Obviously, I dabble in real estate investing, crypto, which that's partly why I'm here, and I travel quite a bit, as well. So, you're looking into all sorts of ways for different types of freedom, and in my case, freedom using your health. If you don't have good health, you don't have freedom. That's a big mantra that I have on my channel, which is right there. Yeah. Shameless plug, but Yeah, if you don't have good health, you don't have true freedom. Because let's just say, for example, easy example, you're morbidly obese, you weigh 600 pounds. You can't really move effectively without assistance or without other gadgets and whatnot. How is that truly freedom? You can't escape as easily as a normal weighted human being. That's just, again, one example. I'm not calling it out. It's just something that you guys can grasp is how could you be truly free? And if I'll give you another example. If you're reliant on dialysis, for example, because you have kidney failure, you have to go to a dialysis appointment in a certain location, and there are only so many out there. So you're also not geographically free at that point as well. So that's the thing. And you have to do this far in advance. You can't wait until things go awry, because once you're in the healthcare system, it's really, really hard to get out. I call it the black hole of chronic disease when it comes to the healthcare system. Once you're in it, it's a very deep hole to get out of, and that's part of what I do. Also, is I try to navigate people through not just their current state of health, but also the healthcare system as well. There's some tips and tricks that they can do to get the most out of their, at least what they have in terms of insurance, or what they have in terms of resources in their specific regions. So that's another thing that I do on the side. But that being said, though, that's a main point is good health is freedom.
Yep. I like that. We are all interested in freedom and sovereignty and maximizing. One of the things that we talk about over here on the Degen Roundtable, we like to joke that we're all a bunch of degenerates, but really, like, we're some people that have high aspirations. We all want to make the world a better place. We all want to grow in sovereignty. We all want to just like improve constantly all day, every day. And so that is a big focus. And thank you for joining us here with this, with your health specialization. Before we get into the actual topic of the conversation tonight, we're going to go through everyone's favorite part of the fucking show, which is chat motherfucking shoutouts, where we give the folks at home some recognition for coming and hanging out with us as we spend our time here and they spend their time with us. So, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and start bringing up some of these chats, starting off with none other than Mr. Wetz. What's up, Degens? Good evening today. Yes, it is a good evening today. It's a fantastic evening. I don't know where it is for you. Yep, buenas noches indeed. It's nice and dark up here. I'm in Oklahoma right now, I think, and it's freezing cold, but it's good weather. Everyone's having a great time. Glad to see that you're able to join us here today, Mr. West. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we have none other than my very own brother, Samuel Stevenson, saying, like the video. You're absolutely right, Sam. Make sure, folks at home, that you smash that like button. That's the only thing that we ask of you to do today. That's all you got to do. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. Sam's another good friend of Dr. Allen, and of course, he's my brother, so he's a good friend of mine as well. It's good to see you, Sam. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we have US Crypto Boogie. What's up, monkeys? What's up, Boogie? Good to see you, broski. Glad we can see you here today. Yes. So this dude, Alan, Crypto Boogie, he's got a super cool cryptocurrency channel. He's like a fucking super cool gun nut Mexican guy. Talks about cryptocurrency, technical analysis, and all sorts of super fun stuff. I think he's actually got a show going on later tonight. So hey, if you guys aren't watching if you're sitting here watching the Degen Roundtable now, then fucking definitely stay and hang out. But if you want to go check out Boogie, I believe that he's going live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Or no, excuse me, not 8 p.m. Eastern. 8 p.m. Central, so that'd be 9 p.m. So like an hour from now or something. So go check out Boogie, go see what he's doing. Love to have you here in the comments, though. Until then, Mr. Boogie, good to see you, amigo. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Ken Turian, 54X, our favorite farmer, our favorite flying farmer over in Ohio. What's up, T-Gens? Good to see you, broski. I hope you've had a great day today, Mr. Kenturian. I don't know what the cold's doing up there for you guys up north, but here in the central states, like, it was getting pretty fucking snowy earlier. I was up on the tower. It was like freezing. There was like icicles flowing all over the place. I know we got some snow down in Texas earlier before I left there. It was super crazy. I don't know what it's like up there in Minnesota, but I bet it's real fucking cold as usual.
-16, -11, -18.
I don't miss that at all.
Yeah, fuck that, bro. All right, well, you can keep it. I will stay down here in the central America.
Yeah.
But good to see you, Mr. Centurion. Thank you for joining us. Next, we got none other than Hex Glenn saying, hey, y'all's. What's up, Hex? Or what's up, Glenn? Good to see you, amigo. Hey, y'all. It's good to see you too, X-Glenn. Thank you for joining us tonight. Glad you could take some time to hop on over here. An OG Degen audience member for sure. After that, we've got none other than Kay Hudson with his fantastic giddy up. I'm not sure where we're going, but we're fucking giddying up on over there. Good to see you, Kay. Welcome to the stream. Then after that, we've got our very own Pulse Jitsu with Fast Abdul. Tell me your secrets. Mr. Fast Abdul, you're going to get some kick-ass secrets tonight, broski. Write these down. These are going to be good ones. Good to see you, though, Fast Abdul. Welcome to the stream. After that, we've got Funkmaster Hex, the Degen Roundtable's very own Trailer Park Boys version of Julian. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir. Mr. Funkmaster Hex, always glad to see you raising a toast at the end of every single one of your sentences. That's fucking great. Yesterday, actually, Mrs. Producer, can you bring up his other comment there? Yesterday was negative 46 Celsius. And that's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, he's got the wind chill as well. Yeah, bro.
Yep.
Ooh,
I'm not
that's
sure if you're up in
Canada
Alaska
for you.
or Canada or where the hell, but like, man.
Where hell
That's
froze over.
Yeah,
Literally.
that
Holy
is
shit.
crazy.
Damn.
I'm getting word that my microphone is bad. I'm going to ask you a question real quick, Alan, and then while you're answering, I'm going to try and fix my microphone. I'm getting a lot of feedback. That
No
it is
worries.
significantly worse. But Alan, how did you get started in medicine, and how has your by the way, that finishes chat shoutouts, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll do another round of chat shoutouts later on in the show, but now it's time to talk about the meat and potatoes of the show, which is
Me.
which is Alan. Yes. So my first question is, like, you've been in medicine for most of your professional life, correct? What was it that set you down this path of content creation and informing people and trying to help people understand this monstrosity that is the health care system?
Yeah, so brief history. I graduated medical school in 2012, and then I finished my residency in 2017, finished my fellowship in 2018. So I've been in practice for almost 7 years now. And over time, at first I skipped a year of college. So by the time I entered medical school, I was 21. And, how are we all in the early 20s? We're kind of dumb and, just kind of listening to everybody and not really thinking for ourselves a whole lot. And that was the point where, I started learning the things about the medical system and just kind of taking it all in and kind of trusting what everybody says, right? Because my predecessors before me, they all have done the work to do the research and whatnot. So I'm just learning what they have shown us. But over time, as life goes on, I've been able to get more life experience, and then also seeing more patients and seeing kind of the trends of disease prevalence in certain categories change over time. I started questioning things in terms of, like, why do we have all of a sudden more autoimmune disease, and why we have sudden all these different cancers coming in, and why is it also happening more in kids, for example? So these just type of questions.
Go ahead. I was just
Yeah,
gonna say, when you first brought that up to me, man, I was like, holy smokes, because like your specialization is dealing with
kids.
children, so you
Yep.
get to literally see the numbers and their fluctuations and their increases.
Yeah.
But please continue with your story.
Yeah, so over time, I just started asking questions. I was just like, "That's weird. Why am I seeing this?" And once that starts to happen, and I'm like, you're kind of going down that rabbit hole. And once I started doing that, it became clear that something wasn't right, and we had to ask. The more questions I asked, the more questions left unanswered, and also the more that I got suspicious of certain things. But fast forward into COVID, that's when it all started to pour out in terms of, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why are we defying things? Sorry, why are we defying certain concepts, basic concepts that I learned in medical school all of a sudden for the sake of, you know, what are the phrases that we used during COVID? The
For the
6
beer
feet
bug
rule.
spread.
Yeah, yeah. Stop the spread.
2 weeks to slow or
Yeah, to 2 weeks to slow the curve. I forget the exact terminology of that. It's been
you're gonna
such a
kill
it's like ancient
grandma.
history.
There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's the curve one was a weird one to me, and then, and also and then when politics gets in the way, then things get really really shady. So, especially at that time, why are we downplaying the fact that it came from China? And I'm Taiwanese, by the way, so it's I'm
Real
not.
China.
Yeah, so yeah. At any rate, we've hated China before COVID, so it's okay. Yeah, so China's probably going to cancel me at this point. Probably
That's all
most
right.
likely.
Hey,
But
we're
anyway,
demonetized, guys.
yeah.
Don't send in super chats. Save it for the next show.
God, I wish I had a Chinese phrase right now because that would be appropriate here that I could use. Anyway, I'm in Spanish mode right now, so it's
Yep.
yeah, Chinese is not in my head brain right now. But anyway, no, the more questions you ask, and then you start looking into other sources of information. So outside of the general medical texts that I use or the medical resources that I use, starting to see other sides to the coin and other sides of certain issues that I thought were pretty much set in stone. And I realize a lot of it isn't set in stone. And now I'm realizing, because one of the basic concepts that I bring up in the channel is, in my channels, are what did we used to do before all this technology came into place? Because society ran just fine without all these new surgeries, all these new technologies, all these medicines, for example.
Pharma, baby.
Yeah, it ran just fine for the most part. People were normal weight and fairly healthy for the most part. Really, we only needed medicines for infections. That was really it. And trauma, obviously. But other than that, though, we didn't have all these things come up, that are we're now seeing today. Autoimmune diseases, a lot more cancer. It's become much more prevalent nowadays. And what changed as a result? So we can draw a lot of logical conclusions. I mean, yes, we have a lot of scientific papers out there, and yes, it's always good to continue to use good scientific research to continue answering those questions. But also, some of that research can be a little flawed. There's a lot of ways that could happen where just the papers that are out there that are being used for policy nowadays are actually kind of flawed. And that's why, in science, that's just a general scientific principles, we should always keep on questioning the narrative and see other sides to the story that you can. But lately, we've been less capable of doing that. So again, you have to wonder why at some point.
So you started your process when you realized that the traditional system of teaching, or not the traditional, but like the system that's in place, does not give you all of the information that is like as effective as the health industry used to have been. I actually, so Sam and I's grandfather on our mother's side, he's been a doctor since, oh shoot, I want to say like the 1950s or the 1960s. He's pushing 93 now, so he's up there. Keep going, Grandpa. We love you, bro. If you're watching this, but he says a lot of the same things that you're talking about. It's just that like the way that people do medicine, the way that hospitals do medicine nowadays is just totally different, and it's a whole other world. I have a question for you from another one of our Degen Roundtable members, Tracker. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but he's one of the founding members of the show. And the premise of his question, and I had sent you this in Telegram earlier, but the premise is that all doctors go to some sort of medical university, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all medical universities basically are like a centralized source of information. So the question that we would like to focus is, what companies control the information dissemination that goes to create doctors in the modern Western world? Is that a question that's answerable?
I'll say this for right now. When I was in medical school, I had no clue that that could be possible. Because I thought I was under a naive assumption that everybody wanted to do good and everybody was scientifically sound and everything was based upon well thought out research and it was unbiased and whatnot. So, whomever created the curricula that we were taught is pretty much faceless. So, I have no clue, honestly. Now, there's a bunch of I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but there are a bunch of groups that are named in terms of who may be spearheading the medical curricula. One will be the government. That's pretty straightforward. All right, that's not straightforward, but that's a logical thing to think about in terms of regulation. You want to, I guess, regulate certain things that are being taught. But so one would be the government, two would be the Rockefellers. I've heard that one, and then three would be big pharma.
Yeah.
It could be all three. Honestly, it probably could be a combination of all three, or and more that I don't know. But there are certain people, whomever they are, that control what gets fed to medical students. And also, this is also common in other educational institutions, not just medical school, but we were really taught what to think, not so much how
Yes.
to think. And that, certainly makes us very susceptible to a lot of things. But basically having your mind enslaved. I don't have a great better word for enslavement, but it is true. Like that, it controls where the information is fed, because that's the quickest way to get it is through the through our medical school training, and then obviously beyond that as well. There's it's how we're tested as well. We're tested on certain things. We have to pass the test, so we have to know certain things to pass the test. Not so much question anything that's on the test though, because otherwise
Yeah.
we'd fail. So there's a lot of incentive to just go with the flow in that regard and just see like, oh, okay, we assume this is right because it's being tested or whatever. And there's no really room, because medical school is very, very intense. There's no room to question anything.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it difficult. And yeah, I mean, that's basically what medical school is a lot of, like, literally you're being barraged with all sorts of information in a very short period of time, and there was just no room for anything else. So made it very easy for us to just take it as it is and take it in stride, pass the tests, get into good residencies. Because if you don't pass them, you don't do well on them, then you don't get into a good residency, then you don't get a good job, and all those other things. So again,
It's like a snowball effect.
well, yeah, but like you follow the incentives also. So that's
Yeah.
another thing that you can look at when in terms of not just follow the money, but follow the incentives of how these things happen and who's controlling that narrative.
So, all right, I got a question here then. Knowing what you know now, and you were naive at one time, but now that you've learned kind of the truth, kind of sort of been like red pilled on this subject, how do you interact not only with people who are still in that blue pill mindset, right? But then also, how do you maneuver with your own patients to try and help them as much as possible? Because oftentimes, as a patient, you are expecting, hey, I need something that's going to solve this issue of mine. However, maybe you're like, what you really need to do is something else. That may come across as just a little bit odd, not what a normal doctor would do. So how do you maneuver in that space?
So thankfully, in my radiology practice, I don't have primary exposure to patients. It's really mainly for procedures. So I don't have to be put in that situation. However, when it comes to outside of that, just talking to everyday people, even talking to my colleagues, the first thing you got to assess is whether they're ready for the information or not. because if they're not ready for it, then they're just gonna just react emotionally, and there's not much you can do or say to do anything, so it becomes a waste of time and energy at that point. So that's the first thing you have to ask yourself. If you come run into a similar situation, for example, is, are they ready for the information, or are they ready for their narratives to be questioned? Some are, some aren't, and it's fairly easy to tell for the most part, especially nowadays, when we have bumper stickers, when we have different color hairs, when we it's the glasses
Piercings.
too. It's the glasses too. Like when they have those weird glasses, I feel like that's pretty much that's blue pill right there. Like that's I don't know. It's a certain look. Put it that way. If they're not ready for the information, then it's not worth just sharing it. You just kind of like smile and nod a little bit and kind of be neutral as possible. The only time that I would get that I would strike back is if it actually affects me in terms of if there's an attack on me, then I don't give into that. So then that would clap back. But if it's kind of just nothing really to fret about, then we just kind of leave it alone and not maybe another day. Just hope for another
Okay,
day.
so that's very interesting what you said
Yeah.
there then. So how do you disseminate or calculate the difference between, the incentive, right, and what you believe is right or wrong, with your core beliefs now that you, know the truth?
So, okay, so how do I
In a situation maybe where it's
Yeah.
like, you go along to get along for the
Mhm.
incentives,
Mhm.
or going along to get along makes you go, I don't think this is right. I really don't think we should do that.
I
What's
see,
the
okay.
calculation there?
So luckily my overall doctor practice, I stick to the science. I don't deal with a lot of social issues, which is good. That's probably why I chose a specialty in the first place. So I guess I run into some situations when it comes to over testing, where I have to put my foot down and be like, hey, this is not worth doing. It's going to cost the patient money. It could cause the patient unnecessary radiation or unnecessary IV administration of contrast, that sort of thing. It's much more of a risk than a benefit. At that point, if it affects my overall daily practice, and then I have to give my reasoning to say, hey, this is a good thing or a bad thing. That would probably be one of the situations that would come across. So, for example, if I think that this patient shouldn't get a CT, well, CT has a good amount of radiation, especially for a kid. You don't want to keep radiating the crap out of them, because otherwise they'll have a higher risk of cancers later on in life, right? So, ideally, like if I don't think it's medically necessary, but a clinician's pushing me to get it anyway, or to do the test anyway, then then I would say something, but I would actually give reasoning behind it as to why it's not a good test. That's part of what a radiologist does anyway, is we have to be able to see what's actually good for the patient, what's not, and help the clinician in that way. Because sometimes the clinicians have no idea, how intense a certain study is, or sometimes some of the things we do could have side effects and whatnot. So you want to be able to reason out in that way, and that's just a case by case basis. There's no like one right or wrong way to do it. It just depends on the person, the patient, and what I'm trying to argue for or against.
Are you trying to say, Dr. Alan Chen, that you like to inform your patients so that way they can give proper consent, some sort of informed consent or something like that?
So in my case, actually, I interact more with the other doctors in this case, because the doctors are the ones that order the studies for the patients, and then once that's done, then the patient goes in for the study, and it's pretty much smooth sailing from there for the most part.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, there is informed consent in some things we do, and what that means is just I tell them what's the study, why you asked to get it, what are the benefits, what are the risks, and do you have any questions? that's just the general bare bones of informed consent.
Excellent.
So
that's where I want to transition the conversation once you're done with your thoughts. So please continue.
yeah. So, but yeah, mainly actually my interactions are with other doctors, not so much with the patients actually, because because I only maybe interact with maybe at most like 6 patients a day. So, and it's usually for procedures. So by that time, at that point, when they're already in the room, they pretty much know what's going on. So,
Yeah.
it's more so for the clinicians. So a lot of times the radiologist gets called the doctor's doctor. That's main my in terms of communication with other people. That's what it is.
Gotcha. Excellent. The reason I bring up the informed consent thing is
Mhm.
because I see that this is something that you've spoken about both to me in person recently, and also I think I've seen it on your content creation on your Instagram and stuff.
Yep.
Informed consent, is that becoming more of a problem in the way that we do medicine nowadays, and especially in these past recent years,
Yep.
especially after coronavirus and all sorts of other stuff. Um, is informed consent a big issue or a medium issue or a little issue? And what would you describe the situation is in Western
Okay.
medicine?
Yeah. So I did a video on vaccines. It was a reaction to another pediatrician in Oregon who lost his license because they put out a paper describing comparing two populations, the vaccinated and the non-vaccinated patients. So the reason why informed consent got brought up was because if anybody remembers their last vaccination that they got, did somebody come to you and say, "Hey, I mentioned the bare bones parts of informed consent. What is it that we're doing? What's it? What is the purpose of it?" Uh, so what is it? What we're doing is just like, okay, we are going to, let's just take a vaccine, for example. We are going to put this needle into your deltoid and we're going to inject this substance in it. And that's what it is, right? Second would be, what's the purpose? To protect yourself from X disease. Okay, fine. Then benefits, which I just mentioned, and then risks would be, okay, you might get some soreness in your shoulder, you may get some bleeding, et cetera, et cetera. There's usually a long list, but most of it is pretty minor for the most part. But generally speaking, informed consent should be given for any, I would say, I guess it's necessary for any substance that you're putting in your body, whether it's a medicine or an injection or any surgery or procedure. We should have informed consent. But however, if we go by that general definition, not everything has formal informed consent. And what I mean by formal informed consent is you're signing a paper saying you know what's going on and you agree to it and blah, yada, yada, yada. That's mainly for legal purposes, by the way. I would say we don't do that for every single thing we do. And I'll give you an example. So, for example, I do barium swallows. It's basically you drink barium, which is a substance that will show up in your X-rays, your movable X-rays, and we use that as a to evaluate your esophagus and your GI tract and whatnot. That's just a general basis of it. So we actually don't do informed consent for that. The major reason is because barium doesn't really do anything to your body, right? And doesn't have really the whole. I mean, the only side effect really is you might get constipated. That's about it. But it doesn't do it. It has never caused a death. Well, hold on. Let me.
What about that one guy who
I was
drowned?
never say hold on. There, yeah, never say never. If done properly and done in the correct, in the appropriate patient, nothing should happen. But again, I'm just saying that this is a thing that you're drinking a foreign substance that's not water or other things that we normally drink, right, in everyday life. And you're also getting radiated, by the way. So that's something that they should know. But they're not required to have informed consent. So the other thing that was brought in that video was that vaccines. Can you remember anybody telling you the bare bones of informed consent when you got your last vaccination?
Nope. I'll tell you, the last vaccinations that I got was in the military when I was walking down Vaccine Alley or whatever they fucking call it, Needle Alley, when like you go to boot camp or whatever, and you're just literally walking down like a fucking dozen or 2 dozen doctors, and they're all just like, gotcha, 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 you know, just a whole
Right.
bunch of
Oh my
fucking
God.
needles and shit. And it's like, I'm sure at some point they gave me some kind of brief, like while I was being yelled and screamed at and whatever, but it's
Right.
like,
But did you sign a paper that says I understood these things about the vaccination?
I don't really know. I might have, but like it's like when you're in boot camp, you're under like a different state of mind.
Mhm.
We'll put it, you know, maybe not necessarily in your most logic and reasoning state of mind. Maybe more of like an emergency, like oh my god, everything is dying kind of state of mind. But like,
Mhm.
I would say that there was not like the same level of like you know if I go to a if I go to a store and I buy a butter knife and I also buy like a razor knife, they're gonna have different warnings on the box. Like
Mhm.
the butter knife isn't gonna say like watch out, you'll kill someone, but the razor knife, you know, there's generally on the box somewhere it's like, hey, be careful, this is a sharp thing, you can cut yourself, you know, like that sort of informed consent, right? It's like the informal, you know, like hey, you know, on this box of cigarettes it says like known by the Surgeon General that it might cause cancer, be careful if you smoke, right? Not a whole lot of stuff in the world of vaccines that I remember, at
Mhm.
least in my own personal experience. It you were asking to drive this to a point though. I would like to hear your I would like to hear where you're going with this.
So I don't remember ever either signing a form or being told what the heck this is, uh, except maybe when I was further into later in my later in age, or more recently rather. More recently, when people knew I was a doctor, they told me what the lot number is and all that jazz. But yeah, I never remember them at least going through all the components of informed consent. I don't remember them doing that at all. So, and anyway, in that video though, they had the parents, this is a pediatric office, the parents read through an informed consent form, and they had to, you know, go through it and be asked questions if they need to. They explained what the vaccine is, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's funny that when they were shown what could happen, et cetera, you know, and basically all the what's going to happen, you know, what this actually is, et cetera, they had a much higher rate of patients not vaccinated. So it's almost
Yes.
as if that once they were more informed, they went to the decision of not getting vaccinated, which is very interesting.
Interesting
And
indeed.
yeah, so it's you know, and the end of that story is that the paper that he published, well, for one, it got retracted by the journal. It wasn't a really big journal, by the way. It was a kind of an outside journal. It wasn't like the New England Journal of Medicine or um, you know, the big journals that are very, very famous. It was sort of like this outside satellite journal, and I bet you he may have tried to submit it to one of those big journals and probably got rejected. But anyway, the journal that he did get it published in retracted it. It wasn't. We don't we're not told. Actually, I haven't seen as to why they retracted it. I haven't read through that, but that's just interesting. And also, the more interesting part was that he got his license suspended by the Oregon Board of Medicine after that paper got published because he was a threat to public health.
So
So
so he told the patients some stuff, or no, he didn't tell the patients. He put out a study that says, hey,
no. So the study came later. So he just basically
okay,
ran through his, one time period to another. They ran through all the data through all the patients to see like what kind of office visits they were having. So they were just tracking every single one of their patients, essentially. But that came later. The informed consent was during the entirety of their practice, essentially. Was okay, they told them what was going on, like what this is. It's, they were told the information about the vaccine, and they found that, like, yeah, a lot more parents were not wanting to get it. So um So yeah, it did because of the results of that paper, by the way, is probably what's driving all this. By the way, for a long story short, TLDR, he found that the rates of asthma, the rates of like skin conditions, eczema, like all that, like was there's a significant difference between the two populations. Like the non-vaccinated patients got none of that. It
Yeah.
was really, really rare. Whereas the vaccinated patients, like it was like through the roof.
Getting all sorts of problems.
Respiratory infections, yeah, all sorts of stuff, yeah. They measured like at least like 20 things, and like pretty much it was pretty much across the board. Like they were just sicker.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're putting something in their body that really shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
And so I would say at that point, I mean, obvious question is obvious, right?
yeah,
Or obvious answer is obvious, but it almost feels like one of a couple of things might possibly be happening here because of our advancements, throwing a lot of different new things into the human body that really shouldn't be there. There's either the possibility that this is just kind of like growing pains of our own evolution, right? Or there are things that are unnecessary, and you can go down this rabbit trail if you want, or this rabbit hole. But I do know that there is a pharmaceutical complex that is going on that basically, if you can keep someone sicker by treating the symptoms of someone who's already sick with something, right? Then you will have a continual customer. So do you agree with that?
sick patients, or sorry, healthy patients do not make money.
Yes, absolutely.
At least at least not in the current incentivization schedule that we have. Right? There's certain cultures. So there's certain cultures where you get paid if you get better. So.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, actually, what cultures do that? I'm kind of curious on that. I've never heard that.
I mean, I think it can only work in small societies, honestly, but I can't remember which country it was
Like
that
little
do that.
communities.
Maybe,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
I think it has to be on a small scale on that one, but because that's a tricky model, and I think they tried it at one point where they try to do it that way. It's sort of I don't know if they still do it a certain way. So basically, they would give like a set amount for, let's just say, pneumonia, and if you pass that amount, then you don't get paid. But basically, whatever. So basically, if you spend, so let's say you get $4,000 for pneumonia. I'm just giving you a random number, and then you only need to spend $1,200. Well, then you pocket the rest of it. That's the that was one of the models. Yeah, I think that was one of the models that they tried. But I'm not sure if they're still using that. They could be, but
there's a question of like who sets the price. Is it competitive, free market, or is it like government sanctioned prices? That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and there, there's a ton of stories out there where health insurance companies absolutely screw you, in the weirdest ways. It's unheard of. Like it's kind of the silliest ways that you can think of, really. So
didn't we just recently have a shooting in New York that happened to have something to do with what you're talking about here?
I did a video on that didn't get as many views as I thought it would, but it's mainly because I talked more about the security issues of it.
Yeah,
and I was a little bit more neutral on that because it was early when we found out about it, so I was being a little bit more neutral, which I'll have to do a follow up on that. But because yeah, it's fun. It's kind of interesting how that took, because a lot of people were like, free Luigi because he's he's doing something noble, but like I don't know. Again, I'm trying to like play both sides a little bit and just see the different perspectives on everything, and I'll get to the other perspective on the vaccine issue, but on the vaccine study, the other perspective that you can have. But real quick on the shooting though, yeah, mainly I talked about the kind of the ridiculousness of the fact that of course in the press conferences that New York State had to bring up the fact that they they had to bring up gun control. Of course they had to do that, because that's any tragedy, that's exactly what they come to first.
Take the story and they spin it how they like.
Yeah, but at the same time though, it's just it's weird because like, how did he know he was going to be there? Was he stalking him? Like, for a kid, like a young kid like that, how does he have that much information about that guy, and why that guy? Why not somebody else? You know, there's other CEO, there's other healthcare CEOs, there's other ones. Why that particular person? Because he could have gone onto a bunch of people. So yeah, I mean, I'm putting on my modern day tinfoil hat here. But you know, you just have to think of all different angles of the story, different motives, and just kind of how these things happen. And there's plenty of, it's not being a conspiracy theory. You're just asking a lot of questions in terms of like, okay, well, what could happen if this were true, or what could happen if this were true? Like, it's just not trying to take the first thing that you hear and take it as gospel. And you should do that with everything, really, not just medicine, not just anything in the news. Just like, well, what if this were true? Or like, just kind of throw out those hypotheticals and just keep your mind open to a lot of things. And right now, we are such a attention economy, and our attention spans are really, really short, that we want to cling on to the first story that we got. It's a dangerous place to be, because it could lead you to a lot of paths that you shouldn't be going to. So yeah. And then one real quick point to that study, with the vaccine study, real quick, is so the best form of evidence is what we call a randomized control trial. So that means that you have to get everybody to start at the same point, blind them as to what kind of intervention they're getting, whether it's the placebo or the actual treatment, and then following them from there. Whereas in this case, their study was a cohort, a retrospective cohort. So they looked at both populations, and they saw what happened to them over time but they let them go through their lives as is. So the one thing you have to think about with that is, okay, the data is pretty alarming, right?
Yeah.
But could there be other variables associated with that? Could the fact that the non-vaccinated folks are just more educated in health, or they just are in general? That could be a factor. So yeah, or genes, or the fact that, or they have more higher socioeconomic status, although I think they controlled for that though. But there's other things that you can think about in terms of other explanations to stories. There's lots of right answers, and there are definitely wrong answers, but there's no one right answer.
Yeah.
This is where you get correlations, though, ultimately, with these
Correct.
studies. You know,
Yes.
and that's why you need a large sample size. So oftentimes, like when we're going through studies, and it's one of these SJWs who's like, oh yeah, trans people are like this or whatever. But it's like they're referencing a study that only looked at, like, say 20 people, right? And it was one study. It's like, okay, can we look at the facts from the literal hundreds of thousands of people with multiple studies over 20 plus years instead? Like, can we take that one as more serious than the other one? And I think that's kind of where you're getting at, where it's like, you need, I mean, obviously, like the random, what's it called? Random, blind random.
Randomized control trial.
Randomized control, yeah. So
Yeah,
randomized
RCT.
control, that's going to be so much better than telling somebody, okay, so what we're looking for is this. Anyways, here's a sheet, fill it out.
Give us the answers. Tell us.
Right. Exactly. We just want to be told the answers. We don't want to be told how we got the answers. That's a good point. Yeah. You have to look at that in depth. And I'll give you another simple example. So bias, huge. Who's paying for the study?
Yep. Oh, there's the
Who's
big
paying
one.
for it?
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Like, that's when you go through, if you want to start looking through the scientific literature, which you can, it's tricky. And we had maybe like, throughout our 4 years of medical school, this is the one subject probably that I took from medical school that I still use today, is called evidence-based medicine, that's basically the course where we are able to critically appraise literature. That's a huge one. Bias. Who's paying for the study? That, and also the materials and methods is how the study was done. But that's more technical. But for the general populace, that's a big thing to take into account. Who's paying for the study, and what, especially, like, they could have certain influences as to what the outcome is as well. So yeah, you have to think about that, unfortunately. And you can use that for other things, not medicine related too, like who's writing these certain articles that you're reading, for example, or what lens are they coming from? Because no matter what it is, it's not primary evidence. It's a lot of stuff that you're reading on the internet, a lot of all the memes, all the Twitter posts. It's all at least secondary, if not tertiary or even quaternary evidence. You're getting it from somewhere else. If the only primary evidence is you were literally right there and you can document all the things that happened in X situation, that's primary evidence. But once you start, like, it's like a game of telephone. Once you start telling it to people, and then they interpret it, and then they start telling it to people, and then they interpret it, it gets all cloudy after a while. So a lot of what's going on in social media is like that. It's like this complicated game of telephone that we're playing here. So
100%.
you're getting it through different lenses, and you have to figure that out in your reasoning as to, like, okay, how can I use this information they're giving me to my advantage? And that's a big part. Like, so easy example, politics. So if they lean right or left, okay, well, if they're probably going to say something bad about Trump, for example. Okay, fine. Okay. But kind of take into account, like, what's, if you could think about what's really causing them to say that, and what's kind of getting them going and getting them interested in the topic in the first place, and what their motivations are, you can kind of get a better glimpse as to, like, what can be made out as, okay, this might be true versus this is bullshit.
So it's the mindset ultimately of questioning. And when you hear something, automatically, right, you go, oh, that's the truth. Obviously, no, you heard it on the internet, so therefore it's the truth. You get that old meme. Yeah, what you actually want to have, or train yourself to have this kind of mindset, is when you do hear something and you go, whoa, what is happening there? Then you start thinking, well, why? Where's the money going? Right? What is actually happening? Is this actually true? You get a bunch of questions. That's going to allow you to dig, not even like super deep, but deep enough where you can be like, I kind of get what's going on. To take your example, right, to just make it as simple as possible. You hear that Trump is doing something really terrible, right? And you're like, whoa, did he really? Did that actually happen? And then you just a surface level dig, and you go down, and it's like a far left outlet that wrote it. And you're like, okay, right there, you can almost instantly be like, yeah, okay, maybe there's a little bit of truth to it, but for a fact it's been blown out of proportion, because that's what motivates them, right? That's the narrative that they wanted to spin. You know that right off the bat.
Hang on.
Here's another simple example. This has been spread around Twitter, and it's been dominating my feed lately. When Elon Musk gave that speech, and he was sort of giving the silly Nazi salute, and I'm just like, well, first of all, why did that blow up on the internet? Number one. So
can I rephrase for a moment here? Let me cast a positive campfire story here, right?
Okay.
I'm not even going to give the words credence. Elon Musk was giving a speech, and he put his hand in the air energetically.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes people put their hands up when I say, "Hey, Degens, welcome to the Degen Roundtable."
Right, like, it's like I'm just
be like that or something.
Woo!
Like I'm not trying to, like, people. Here's the thing: you can't give anyone, like, the people that are already going to believe that type of story, they're already lost. It's like what you were talking about earlier with the blue pill and the red pill, and the, like, can you give folks information if they're ready to receive it? Can you not? Like, the only people that you might change over are people that are on the fence, right? If you're trying to talk to somebody who's already over in the weeds, in the bushes, and they're already doing their thing, like, the slanderous media, the slanderous corporate press is just going to slander. They're just going to tell their outrageous, National Enquirer stories to get, like, newspapers to sell, or to get articles to get clicks on, so they can get advertising revenue or something like that. Like, we're not gonna make progress, but it is very real. So you were talking about, Alan, on the on your Twitter feed, you were seeing all this crap show up. Go, can you continue?
Well, it's just a way to divide people, also. Like, just to make things inflamed in general, and to get everybody up in an uproar. Who knows if it was an act that was intentional or not? Oh, I don't know. We won't really know. But you can keep on, like, you could go through this mental exercise, or just move on with your day.
Yeah.
And also like it's just and they and obviously people that clap back were like finding other examples of other people doing it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it's just that's
People
all it
put
is,
their
is a
hands up.
gesture. Yeah,
Yeah.
people put. So like, yeah, it's a silly thing to waste your energy on, one, and then two, like, look what it's doing to the internet at this rate. Like, it's just it's
It's
in
all
a,
clickbait.
in a weird way. Well, yeah, it's a clickbait, and it's also
I mean, here
controlling
we
your
are
energy and your
talking
time.
about it.
Yeah,
So it worked. Congratulations, news companies.
So
it
I'll
worked,
tell you,
but
I'll
I'm
tell
just
you right now, it did work, but it worked because it's funny. So like when you're talking about the clapbacks, right? Of like, oh,
Yeah.
other people are doing it. I took that as like a troll, right? And oftentimes when you're seeing these things and you see people that kind of just doing little trolls, like to me, that's entertainment, right? And regardless of if you're of the mindset whether we should be playing video games, right, or watching TV shows, things like that, regardless if you think that that's a waste of time, you have to understand that as humans in general, the ability to be entertained will actually help us become more efficient when we are actually going to work. This is just another form of it, in my general opinion. It's why when I was watching the inauguration, I had a lot of fun with it. Why? Because there's just so many memes, and it was a comedy show for me, right? So it was just a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. It's not because I'm a Trumpian, right?
Yeah.
But because I had a lot of fun watching everybody do what they do.
Yeah. But it also goes to show you that you don't get a lot of benefit of the doubt these days, especially with cameras on everywhere. I mean, just me being here right now, like somebody's gonna probably, or somebody could take anything I said way out of proportion and cut it up to how they want to spin the narrative. It's
You hear
just
that, guys? Clip
inevitable.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, it's just, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be taken out of context, and whatever. I mean, we've gotten that far. We've highly been scrutinized in that regard, in a lot of situations where, yeah, everything that you say is going to could be used against you. And it's not like also I'm immune, or I don't do it to other people too. I mean, I have videos that show people that, let's just take fat acceptance for example. Like, that's the stuff that they say. I'm criticizing them as well, but I mean, yeah, I'm trying to do it in a respectful way, but not to just absolutely like cancel you, in terms of like why I think your ideology is incorrect, or it's it's unhealthy to think this way. So yeah, I mean, we all do it. Let's just be real, we all do it. It's just a matter of like how you go about it, and and how extreme you take it.
Ooh, Hex Glenn brings up a really good point. He just wrote this in the comments. With AI, you could have said anything. That's absolutely
that's really
true.
That's a fear that's going on right now.
Yeah, I actually use 11 Labs every now and then. So like, for example, if I said a word incorrectly when I record a video for like that scripted video, for example, if I said a word incorrectly,
that's cool.
it can pretty accurately like fill in that word for me.
Oh, that's awesome, bro.
Without me having to
like
record it all over again, So,
dude, that's great.
But that goes to show you that yes, AI can have me say anything, because now my voice is all over the internet. It can be used against me, and that's why.
What's great about that is that like the more people that are out there making AI videos of you, the more real you are. Like they're taking your content, they're applying their energy into your stuff that you've made. It's like they're not going out there making their own stuff. They're twisting and bastardizing a campfire story. And what that does is it makes you real.
Yeah.
And it continues the thought process that is of you. So like, if I don't want people to think about monkeys riding on pink elephants while eating ice cream, then I should not say the phrase monkeys riding on pink elephants eating ice cream. Nobody was thinking about that. That did not exist until I said it. Yeah. And if you never see a picture of a monkey riding on a pink elephant eating ice cream, then you'd never think about it, right? So like the amount of realness that something has is the amount of interaction that it gets with the public. And if people are out there making fake content about you, odds are you're making more content than them, right? Unless they just got a really, really efficient machine, in which case they're like, okay, you're pouring all this energy into hating me. Like, I just won't say your name. And then, it's like, cool beans. Like, you don't exist to me. And,
Well, if
and
that's
you
the
can
case,
you can decide how much power that you assign to give to
Sure.
those sorts of people. Like,
I
I'd be
will
super
give-
flattered if people made some AI videos of us here on the Degen Roundtable doing
So
some cool shit.
hold on. This is something that I thought of, and I've told some parents to do this. But and we'll discuss this off air. But one of the things where that can go awry is if you make an AI voice. Let's just say somebody made an AI voice of me and then used it to call my mother and saying I'm in trouble. Please send blah blah, blah money to
Legal
somewhere.
or illegal.
Yeah, so send money to X place because I need to be free from whatever or whatever. I'm in a situation where I'm not really, but somebody used my AI voice to tell my mom, for example, like, to get me out of trouble, send money this way or go to this place. So there's a safety issue with that, right? One way that you can counteract that is have a plan in place for your close friends and family. You can have come up with your own little password saying that I'm actually a real person, because there's plenty of ways to fake this and to use your real number and it's kind of scary actually. That's where I could see that go awry. So something to think about when people can fake your voice.
That reminds me when you see Telegram messages from people that impersonate real accounts.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you will not ever get a DM from me, and it's like the DMs are scams, people pretending to be me. It's all fake,
Yeah.
People will pretend to be fucking Donald Trump on Twitter and be like,
Especially-
hey, help, I need $4,000 to get out of this traffic ticket or something.
Yeah. No, definitely in the crypto world, you got to be aware of that too. That's how they get you. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I need my seed phrases real quick. What were they again?
I have the MetaMask helper. I have I'm gonna take us down a different little bit of a rabbit hole here, Alan, and I want to ask you again about more of the medical industry. What do you think is the biggest myth or the biggest falsehood or the biggest red herring, I suppose, in the medical industry when it comes to people, specifically in the hospital industry? I'll narrow it down because we could go down a whole bunch of categories, but what do you think is the biggest false narrative or something like that standard folks should look out for?
Our body does a good job of healing itself, but we don't allow it to.
You think that's
You
fake?
dive
false.
into that, actually. Let's dig deeper into that. So the body is really good at healing itself, but we're not allowing it to.
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
There's a lot of ways you can go with this. So we use a lot of drugs to heal things, and those drugs come with side effects. So here's how you get into the black hole: is that once you start on one, you get a side effect from one, then you need another drug to conquer that side effect, and then you need another drug to conquer that side effect. You get it, or you get tolerant to the drug, and then you need more of it. This is what I mean by the vortex of modern healthcare these days: is that you just get sucked into drug after drug after drug, or procedure after procedure, and then eventually get to start getting to organ failure and things. Then you're really dependent on lots of expensive procedures and machines and all that other stuff. So we don't allow it to, meaning that we don't give it time. That's a good one. Two, we don't give it the proper nutrition, but the proper building blocks so that it can heal itself with the shitty diets that we have, and especially in the standard American diet. We don't allow it for the body to work as optimal as it should. And there's plenty of reasons for that. I just named two, and there's way more. So yeah, pharma and the standard American diet.
So the big myth is that we're pretty good at healing ourselves, and they don't want you to know that. They want to give you all these additives and all these superlatives and all these helpful things. We actually had a comment from an audience member, DeFi Crypto Alliance with Corey Geary. Peptides and bioregulators freaking rock. Do you have thoughts on peptides and bioregulators? I know that the peptides are pretty fucking cool. From what little I understand, they basically they help the body do what it's already doing, or something along those lines.
Mhm.
Okay.
So peptides, those kinds of drugs that are, unfortunately the FDA is trying to squash at the moment. So again, I do everything.
Interesting.
I do
The useful
mostly
stuff.
everything. Yeah, I do mostly the opposite of what the FDA says. Mostly.
Yep.
Although I agree with the Red 3 ban. I agree with that one at least. I will.
Which
I will
one?
ban the Red 3 ban, the food dye
What's-
ban.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's one food dye, so like anyway.
Or something.
Yeah, so those peptides and bioregulators. The reason why the two major reasons why those have really come in the forefront of at least the non-Western healthcare kind of treatments is, one, peptides are usually already things that you find in the body naturally. You're just having them focused on a specific purpose, for example. So I'll just take an easy example, would be BPC-157. It's mainly to decrease inflammation, help repair muscle, and repair it can do lots of reparative things, especially in the musculoskeletal system. Let's just put it there. Let's give you a general guideline on that.
What's the name of it again?
BPC-157, Bravo Papa Charlie 157.
BPC
It's a peptide. So that's normally found, I believe, in the gastrointestinal system, but it's being used elsewhere in the body. It's got it's got a different function outside the body. Every substance in your body, or sorry, let me back up. Every not substance. I don't want to use the word substance. Every molecule / protein / hormone has a different function in a different organ. So they're basically manipulating that the function of that specific peptide into another, or you're using it in another organ. So it's not like it's foreign to the body as well. So that's the other thing. Whereas drugs, somebody else's blood, for example, is a foreign substance. It's considered a foreign substance. So it's not a foreign to the body. So that's why there's a very low side effect profile. And basically the only side effect is like if you have an infected peptide, and you didn't, it's not properly cleaned, for example.
Sure.
But at any rate, that's the beauty of those I don't want to call them drugs, but like the peptides and the bioregulators. That's the beauty of them, is that they have a lot of low side effect profile, and they're already found naturally in your body and nature. So it makes it conducive to good treatment, and it's also probably why the FDA is trying to squash it too, because then we don't use pain medications, ibuprofen, naproxen, and even go as extreme as morphine and Dilaudid. We don't have to use those drugs. We can instead try to not only decrease the pain, but potentially, repair. So, for example, I used BPC-157 recently for I had a left calf tear, and injected some of that close to the calf, and about 3 days. At the time of the injury, which is the fucking pickleball, which is, I'm not proud to say that. I got the injury from pickleball just by doing nothing. Apparently, there's just some of the fibers of my calf decided to just tear, and I couldn't walk. I was, once I did that though, I was able to walk in 3 days.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
BPC-157.
from what I'm hearing, sort of like how peptides work and all that, is it's basically the idea is your body, as you said, is really good at healing itself, is really good at strengthening itself.
Mhm.
However, it's not necessarily these certain cells are not particularly in that exact area at the time that it would be most beneficial
Correct.
to have them there. And
Correct.
that's just because the body is the body, right?
Yep.
There are some of these cells that are going to be in other places. The one that always comes to mind for me, the famous one, is stem cells, right?
Mhm.
And those are just in a different place.
Mhm.
Now, if the idea is these same cells that are literally your body are just basically picked out of that place and put into whatever the issue is, for the most part, they just do their function like they always do, but it just happens to be in that focused area that is really going to help your body in that particular time.
Yeah, it's not always cells, by the way. This is a peptide, so it's for all intents and purposes a protein. So it's basically,
I could say biological material. I'm just trying to say cells, though.
yeah,
because
yes,
honestly,
yeah.
that's kind of the overarching. They're all cells of some kind, but it's
Well,
the combination of how they all get together
yeah.
in their function.
Peptide's even smaller than a cell. It's like literally a tiny
Oh, is it?
building block.
Oh,
It's a protein essentially. So like the cell is made out of lots of proteins. But like we're literally at the very minuscule building block here.
okay. So we're talking. I'm more of a science guy, right? So we're talking basically molecules, the atoms to positrons, neutrons, and electrons, and then
Right.
so forth. Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're at the
My
chemistry
bad.
level. So if you really want to get that, so yeah, like physics is like the really like that's where you learn all of the electrons, neutrons, and all that stuff. That's really tiny. Then you get to the periodic
atoms.
table of elements. Yeah, the atoms.
Mhm.
Then you get to
Molecules.
once you put them all together and make certain things, that's where you get to the level of peptides. And then once you put all the proteins, different fatty structures, different glucose structures. Once you put all of them together in some organized fashion, that's what you get the cell from.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where the cell comes into play. So yeah, like we're literally talking about that level of molecule that we're dealing with. Yeah,
That's
when it comes to
excellent. I love
peptide.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to go back to college science there. It was like that may have been my best teaching moment, but I got there in the end.
Don't worry about it. I was completely forgetting the difference between a cell and a protein.
Yeah, no worries.
Go back to high school.
There's some things that we learned in school that are actually like useful, but yeah.
Oh wow, there's a lot of really cool websites that sell NAD and peptide stuff.
Yeah.
This is super awesome. I'm just like Googling some of the numbers right now. So the one that Corey Geary was talking about, so BPC 157, TB 500 also does the increased muscle growth and tissue repair.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. They use it a lot.
There's another new one because right now it's harder to find. It's harder to find those two that you just mentioned. There's another one. I can't remember who.
That's awesome.
I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's out there that can actually be better than BPC and TB. If I can find it, I'll put it I will mention it. But if not,
excellent.
That's all right.
Let's while you're looking for that, I'm going to run through a quick little thing of chat shoutouts. Let me go over to the private chat real quick and make sure that we still have Mrs. Producer. It looks like we do. Excellent, Mrs. Producer. Let's go ahead and run through a quick little segment of chat.
Let's wait a second here.
We're waiting? Okay.
Yeah,
just kidding.
we're
waiting.
We're gonna wait a little second.
Okay. Yes, we're gonna wait a second. And while we're waiting a second to do chat,
oh, never mind. She brought it with her. Actually, she is able to, so she is good. We're good to go.
Sweet.
We're good to go.
Let's do some chat motherfucking shout-outs, ladies and gentlemen. I was gonna say this show is brought to you by, and I was gonna say Brondo because it's got what plants crave, which is electrolytes. But instead of doing a commercial, let's go ahead and do some chat motherfucking shout-outs. So, Mrs. Producer, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and bringing up some of these chat shout-outs. We've got Mr. West coming in with a excellent thank you. Yo, guys, thank you for all that you do. You guys have been bros, and been the bros and crypto bros I never had in person. Amigo, it is good to hear that. Thank you, West. That hits me right in the feels. I'm gonna save that comment in my little motivation in my little motivation folder that I keep all the nice things that people say. Nice. We love you, West. Thank you for telling us this. This is so excellent. Next up in chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Ock Jockey or M Rock Jockey. Thanks for sharing, Doc. He is thanking you, Alan, for all of your great sharing and great stories and information. This is fantastic.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Yes. Next up, we got Agent J of the Degen Roundtable. Ah, cause it's Oregon. LOL. This is in reference to the that poor doctor who got his license.
Yeah,
pulled.
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
freaking
it's
Oregon, man.
Yep, I know Agent J's had some experience over there in Oregon, and yeah,
Oh,
they're freaking mess of a state.
Oh, if you want a real quick random aside, I know another doctor in Oregon who basically got fired because of this like whole Karen coup
Oh,
that
man.
happened, and I think it was because she may have said like something like offhand comment about a gay dude, and I was just like, it wasn't in closed doors. It wasn't like in front of a patient or anything like that. It was like behind closed doors, and it's just like, what? And then yeah, like it was very strange. And then unfortunately, she got fired, which it was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So yeah, Oregon has a
DRI
lot of issues,
Yep.
but no, she's doing
No, no.
okay now. But anyway, I was just like, yeah, just speaking to Oregon, it's like, yeah, they're the Karens are gonna Karen. We'll put it that way.
Oregon
that's,
is a nice
that's that
place.
whole West Coast, man. They're all screwed up.
You know,
Yeah.
and it sucks because like a lot of those, a lot of the like the area, you know, the literal square mileage. Oh, excuse me. The literal square mileage of Washington, Oregon, California is just fucking awesome, full of wonderful people that do great things. And you got these little pockets of terribleness. You got Seattle, you got Portland, you got San Francisco, LA, freaking San Diego, like all these like places where just like some really crazy stupid shit happens, and it just kind of ruins it for the rest of the state. Puts a bad taste in our mouth. I do love the nature and the scene and the area that is Oregon, but stay out of Portland, everybody. Stay out of these
It's
big
really
cities.
Portland that screws it for everybody. It's really
Yeah.
important. By the way, I
It's like-
found the sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the peptide thing. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll go
but
into the peptide thing as soon as we're done with these chat shoutouts.
Sure.
Speaking of, let's get back to them. So yeah,
Ooh, suspense.
M-Rock Jockey and Agent J. So yes, we'll talk about peptides here in a moment. Next up for the chat shoutouts, it looks like we've got Mr. Hexagon Lost in Asia, Dr. Unplugged. Let's fucking go. I love to see it. Good to see a Hexagon Lost in Asia. Glad you could make it with us today. I think that it's morning over in Asia, if I'm not mistaken. So glad
Depends.
you could,
Yeah,
glad you
pretty
could
much.
join us.
Yep.
Yes, Asia's a big place.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Big place.
Next up, we've got DeFi Crypto Alliance with Corey Geary, peptides and bioregulators. Frickin' rock. Good to see you, Corey Geary. Welcome to the show. For those of you guys that don't know Corey, he runs another YouTube channel, the DeFi Crypto Alliance. Him and Dane do some great, fantastic talks. I'm pretty sure that they're live every day. Oh man, I would say the time, but like you guys just go over and check their show out, DeFi Crypto Alliance with Corey Geary. Google it on or YouTube, search it, you'll find it. There's some great people over there.
It's a fantastic spot. And I really quick want to say thank you very much, Corey. You're the one who introduced me to bioregulators, and I really want to deep dive that. I got your DM. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, that is absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad that yes, shout out to Corey. Also shout out to RG3 talking about peptides. So those gentlemen right there, along with all the other people that talk about peptides and teach us these excellent things. Like, we're all about learning cool things that basically make us more powerful, give us more sovereignty, and make the world a better place. So it's good to see all y'all out there tonight. Next up in the chat shout out, speaking of all the people that we're seeing out there, we've got Charlotte Nightstar the werewolf. Welcome, Charlotte, with the little waving, and I was going to say Cookie Monster, but I'm not entirely sure what that little emoji is, but he's happy to see us. So it's good to see you, Charlotte. Welcome to the channel. For those of you guys that don't know, I believe that Charlotte also has a music channel over on YouTube that you guys can check out, where she makes some really cool music and does some good Twin Peaks content. I think it was who was that gentleman that just died? Dang it. We were just speaking about him the other day. David Lynch. Yes, shout out to David Lynch and his fantastic cinematography career. Yes, and also shout out to Charlotte Nightstar. And I believe that does it for the chat shout outs. No problem with health and wealth. Yes, Corey, thank you so much for all that. So we're going to go ahead and get back into our regularly scheduled programming, and we're going to talk some more about peptides, because that was where we left off. Dr. Alan Chen, you said you had found this magical new one that does another cool thing. How
Yeah,
many cool
because
peptides are there? Are there like billions
a
of them
bunch.
or hundreds?
There's a bunch, and yeah, like I said, usually they have a really low side effect profile. So like I've been experimenting on myself.
Yeah.
A bunch of them. Real quick on the potential replacement for BPC 157 if the FDA ends up screwing us and reducing our access to it. It's called PDA, like public display of affection, but it stands
PDA.
for. But that's how you can remember it. But it stands for pentadecaarginate.
Okay. Pentadecaarginate.
Yeah, so it's very similar.
Is it like L-arginine? Are those
No.
similar?
It's just the name of the like I guess how pentadeca is just the fact that it's 15 amino acids.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
5 and 5 plus 10. Yeah, that's the
Gotcha.
Greek. Or
And that one's
Latin or
also
whatever.
for fixing muscle then?
It does the same thing as BPC 157. And it may hold on. Oops. It may be more stable. Yeah, maybe more stable than BPC 157 as well. So it's an alternative to BPC 157, but I can imagine it could be a little more expensive just because it's like this new thing. So we'll see. But yeah, there a lot of the optimization clinics out there are having it, and as an alternative to BPC 157. One peptide that you, if you so choose, want to try. Again, this is not health advice. Please do not take this as such. But there's one called melanotan. So obviously, there's melano. It implies that it has something to do with melanin, which it does. It makes your skin darker. There is a small side effect where it can give you a little bit of nausea, can give you a little bit of discomfort gastrointestinally, but that's usually pretty transient. It doesn't last very long. But it can also, it has an interesting side effect where it can make you very randy.
Ah, well.
Wait, Randy?
Randy, baby.
Yeah. So
yeah,
Randy,
baby.
We'll get Randy.
Austin Powers, Randy, baby.
Oh my god.
It's
do you make me Randy, baby? I can't do that.
For lack of a better
Randy,
term,
baby.
it's an accelerant, Nate. So there we
Yeah.
go. And
Yeah,
by the
makes
way,
you
for the folks that are joining us right now who don't know who any of us are, my name's Will Stevenson. I'm the host of the Degen Roundtable. This is Nate, the Ascending Man McGettit, the co-host, and then our fantastic guest over here is Dr. Alan Chen, a pediatric radiologist who is interested in helping people unplug from the craziness that is Western medicine, learn more about how to get better at health, learn more how to get better at nutrition, and just become a better, more sovereign individual. I love the quote that you said at the very beginning of the podcast where you said that like health is wealth. It just kind of like
health is freedom.
Yeah, health is freedom specifically. Like I like to think of the different. Yeah, okay. So I was mixing your definition with mine. I categorize health in one of my like 6 general wealth categories in life. You know, you've got time, you've got health, you've got money, you've got like a brand or like friendships or reputation, you've got like physical resources, and then oh shoot, what was the last one? Damn it, I forgot what it was. But anyways, like there's a bunch of different categories that you can be rich in life, you know, and if you're rich in money and you're poor in health, like our very good friend, rest his soul, Steve Jobs, had a shit ton of money, had very terrible health, and it ended up killing him. And it was like, it cut his time short because he didn't invest in all of the different like wealth categories that you can like have in life. So try and do
you can't take your money to the grave. You can't.
Yeah, you can't take your money to your grave. You can't like if you die earlier than you should have because you didn't do the preventative maintenance that you could have done, then it can be seen as a tragedy. And it's like, you know, you might have perhaps, it's almost like a loss of potential energy, right? Like, right. You know, you were going and going and going, chasing excellence, doing some great things, and then some terrible thing happened because, like, you know, there was some sort of preventable problem that happened in the health system. You know, you spend your whole life just eating nothing but Costco hot dogs, and then all of a sudden you drop dead at 34 because you know you've gotten Costco hot dog. Like, shout out to Costco hot dogs. I fucking love Costco hot dogs. It's the first thing that popped into my mind. But like, you know, you if you don't take care of your health correctly, then your life gets cut short. You know, my
not
buddy.
just time. Yeah, it's not just
Yeah.
time, by the way. It's you can't enjoy your life as much. Your
Sure,
quality goes
yeah.
down.
Exactly. Yes. This is something that that a very close friend of mine. Shout out to you, Joe, if you're watching this. He recently had a child, and he decided to go on a health kick, and he got like he used to be overweight more than he is now. He lost 50 pounds because he's like, like I got a kid now. I want to live. Like I want to live longer, and like if I keep chugging along at this weight that I'm at, then life's going to be more difficult, and I'm not going to be able to like push my grandkids on a swing. I'm not going to, be able to like run around and throw a football with my son or whatever, and it's just like
You're not gonna be a good role model for your kid.
yeah, you're so one, you're being a good role model. Two, you're surviving longer to spend more time with them and have more of like the excellent, cherishable moments that we so greatly love. And so it's just like, if you don't have the freedom, as you say, of like being healthy, if you're always bedridden, if you're always stuck in the hospital, if you like can't get it on an airplane without buying multiple seats or something, like there's a whole bunch of things that health will hold you back from doing in real life. And we have a certain amount of power to like fix our health. People born without legs, for instance, like they don't have the same power as people that are born with legs. But you got to take the hand that you're dealt, and you got to play it to your maximum advantage, so that way you can have as much freedom and as much sovereignty to do as much of the shit in life as possible. So I really love that you said there in the beginning, bro.
Yeah, and let me get on my soapbox a little bit on that
Yeah,
topic with the fatherhood and kids. Obviously, childhood obesity has risen dramatically in the last 10 years or so, right? And there's plenty of data saying that if you're obese as a kid, it's your health outcomes become way worse as an adult compared to if you got fat as an adult. And the fact that we are almost normalizing obesity at this point, it makes me really, really sad because again, these are, the kids are our future leaders, our future doctors, our future, you name it. And these are the folks that are going to take care of us when we're old. So you want them to be as optimal as possible too. And what kind of disservice to the next generation, to your kids, and to show them that being fat is okay. That's just it's just a terrible message to send, and it's just you're setting them up for disaster. Like that's just we've shown it plenty of times, and I've seen plenty of kids, the kids that do the worst in especially when it came to COVID, were the very overweight kids. They're the ones that had the ICU stays. They're they're the ones that had the most complications because the obesity was a big factor to that.
Yep.
They're also the ones that get the sick the most, arguably, where they're the ones that get the worst infections. They're the ones that get other diseases. I mean, I've seen kids getting fatty liver disease at 10, and that's something that usually is seen in adults in their like at least their 40s. We're seeing a lot of acceleration of certain diseases that we normally see in adults, and I'm seeing in kids. And it's just, that's really sad to me. That's just like, that's ridiculous. And how do we get here? Well, there's many answers to that question, but it's right now we can't rely on any one government entity. I know we have this Make America Healthy Again campaign, but you can never rely on other people for your own health. That's kind of another big thing that I tried to preach on my channels is you have to, it's up to you. It's at the end of the day, it's on you. You should be your own best champion in that regard. You should take the time to figure this shit out and to seek help if you need it, and just to get into the best state of health as you possibly can. You can't just rely on even your doctor, for example. Like, you just take their advice for what it's worth. There's always second opinions. There's always other sources of information. Really, because it's your health, it's your body. You only get one.
Yep.
You should be the one that is your best champion. You could have the best friends in the world, but even them, like, they're gonna probably worry about their own bodies first before yours, right? So just by default. And even doctors, like, they're going to worry about their situations more than yours. I mean, that's just by default. Like, it's not. I'm not saying that doctors are bad in that regard. I'm just saying that that's humans in general. But yeah, you have to figure this out for yourself and not, yes, I mean, I'm enjoying the things that are already happening right now. The red 3 bands a start. We'll see what else RFK can do. I mean, off that tangent, RFK, he's got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot on his plate.
Oh yeah.
The big
It's a
food
start.
and big pharma are such huge machines that they have the resources to pull all sorts of antics to fight against all the stuff that RFK is trying to push. From legal teams to media to everything, they will pull at all the stops to make sure that they can keep their gravy train that they're on right now. And it's going to be a wild ride, and it's not going to be done in 4 years. You'd be silly and naive to think that it could, because there's going to be a lot of opposing forces against it. So, and you saw it in 2016 also, when there was a lot of opposing forces against Trump for all the stuff that he was trying to do back then. It's not going to change. That's not going to change. There's always going to be some sort of obstacles along the way, and we'll see what they come up with this time around. But I mean, I agree. The one good thing though that has come out of it though is that I think it's spread a lot more awareness into what's actually the problem here, because it was pretty nebulous. I mean, even to me, it was nebulous when 10 years ago. I don't think the same things that I do now. Myself 10 years ago would have disagreed with me completely. So it's at least it's spread the word, and to get people thinking about certain things that they probably have never thought about before. So that's the positive that I see from it. But in terms of change that's going to be done, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I would love to be pleasantly surprised.
I think it's a start for sure, and it's a positive direction to go. Now, to your point, is this the hope, right? Is this what's going to solve the problem? No. However, one thing that I ended up learning that kind of surprised me, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but yeah, it's one of those things you hear and you're just like, wow, okay, that's crazy, is you can't really rely on something like saying organic. If something is labeled organic, that always seemed like a gimmick to me, to put a higher price on something. And it really is true, because you can have the Great Value Walmart brand, which is pumped loads of shit in it, right? Have the hamburger version of it, and it's just awful for you. You really should never be eating that, because that's not even real food, I would say. But then you go and you're like, oh, but there's this organic grass-fed cow version of one, right? Well, here's the crazy thing. The parent company is, for both of those, is Walmart. And Walmart is owned by somebody else too. And you start looking at who owns what, and you start realizing, wait a minute, they're labeling things different, but that's not necessarily that they've taken things out. Maybe they have a slightly higher priced version of it, like higher quality version, but it's still trash. The stuff that they are putting in there that is harming people are still in there. And when I started hearing about this, where you got to kind of follow the breadcrumbs of who's the parent company, right? I started
Follow the money,
realizing,
baby.
yeah, follow the money, right? I started realizing the only true way to be secured from these types of ingredients that you don't know you're eating, by the way, because if they can get away with not putting something on the label, they will. And even when they put something on the label, you don't 100% know what it is you're putting in your body, right? High fructose corn syrup, right? As an example. And so when you're looking around and say, okay, I need the healthiest food possible, usually it's more expensive. That's off the bat, right? But then it's usually like locally grown. Like you literally go to your local farmer and just buy a cow off them. And
It's real food.
Real food, right?
The easiest way to put it is the most direct impact you can have on your life is the thing that is closest to you. The more intermediaries, the more middlemen, the more degrees of removal a thing is from your supervision and whatever. You know, like the house that you built yourself, it might not be the best house in the world, but you know everything about it, right? And so you're going to make sure that you're putting in the high quality nails, the good wood, the like you're doing the drywall in a way that suits your purposes, you know? Like we care about the stuff that we do. So if you want good meat, if you want good like vegetables or whatever, then you raise your own beef, you farm your own chickens, you grow your own vegetables, you snip your own parsley or whatever, you know. And if you know that you don't want to do it with your own time, then you can find someone in your area that you vet through the process. Like there's a when I'm down in Texas, my mother goes to oh shoot, I can't remember what the doctor dude's name is, but he's some rancher guy out there nearby where she lives at, and she goes and gets like grass-fed beef straight from the cattle rancher, you know. So from farm to table, like missing the market entirely, missing the semi trucks, missing the plastic packaging, whatever the hell, you know, it's wrapped up in a brown paper bag. Exactly. Right. And it's a little bit more expensive because, you know, there's like everything has a cost, sure. But like your health is infinitely expensive, or not infinitely expensive, infinitely valuable. And so it is worth whatever price you're willing to pay. And if the price you're willing to pay is going to Walmart to get the quick food, then hey, that's fine. You're a sovereign individual. You can make that decision. Just understand the consequences of doing that versus the consequences of going to, you know, Joe Schmo farmer guy raising his own cattle. And if he doesn't know someone, then maybe you go one town over, right? Maybe you live in Alaska where you can't get, you know, bananas. And so it's like, okay, my only option for bananas in Alaska is going to Walmart or going to the local, you know, banana importer guy, or literally talking to a dude that owns a boat and saying, hey, let's roll on down to Honduras and get us some fucking local bananas, like whatever, right? But the thing that I would focus on, and this has to do with cryptocurrency, this has to do with health, this has to do with finances, this has to do with learning, this has to do with politics, this has to do with everything in life. The closer you can get to being the source of where the stuff like originates and where it comes from, the more control you have over it. Just like we say, like, you know, you don't have a whole lot of say over the federal election, but you have a shit ton of say over what happens in your school board, in your local area, in your little district. You have a ton of say over who's the sheriff in your jurisdiction, you know? Like the closer you focus to where your power level is maximum leverage, the better results you're going to have. And so like that's why I think it's really important that we have Alan on here today, and that's why I like thank you so much for being here, broski. It's like this is awesome that we get to give people the information that allows them to make the better decisions themselves. Like you said early on in the podcast, none of this is like medical or financial advice. This is all just us talking about things that we know. And you guys are free to listen to however much you want and like double check everything we say. You guys should assume that we're lying to you, right? And that you should go and get not necessarily lying, but that we might not be telling the truth. You guys should always assume
Or wrong.
that everything that you hear is incorrect until you like corroborate it for yourself or you're satisfied with your own information. Like you guys make your own decisions. I make my own decisions. Everyone's in charge of their own thing, and we're just some assholes talking on the internet. So take that for what you will. And I kind of want to thank you for listening to my TED talk. I want to throw it back into to you guys for thoughts or anything. I kind of went on a little bit of a roll there.
I will preface what you just said. Another rule of thumb is that the fewer ingredients in a certain product, the better. But that's not always true. That's not always true.
Yeah.
That's not always true, though. I can give you one quick example would be dry fruit that you get in a bag. A lot of times that's chock full of sugar. They add sugar to it, so keep that in mind.
Really?
Yeah, like be careful with like especially dried cranberries,
Raisins,
any of the berry categories. They tend to add more sugar to it. That it already has sugar in it. Come on, you don't need to add more. A lot of those can have extra sugar in it.
Juices are the same thing, by the way.
Oh yeah, so juices is another one too. Like concentrates. Oh god, like you're gonna get your year's worth of sugar in one glass of juice. That you know. So anyway, secondly, with the advertising the advertising that you were speaking about before, you should look up what everything actually means, and also how they were able to get that on the label, because it's regulated by, I believe, I'm pretty sure by the FDA, in terms of what they can put in or not put in a package based on certain criteria. And if you look that up as to what that is, and I'm actually looking forward to filming this on my YouTube channel at Your Health Unplugged. That's my YouTube channel. It's shameless plug. I'm going to be interviewing some farmers and visiting their farm at a local farm here in Texas. And they have a good perspective when I talk to them about what grass finished means, what grass fed means, and all that. And you kind of can get a nice, easy example as to what that actually means when you actually see it for yourself. I'm looking forward to filming that episode, by the way. And kind of, if you sort of notice the way I talk, like I try to get you guys to look up the information yourself as well. Because let's just be real. I don't know. I cannot memorize every fact under the sun, especially with how broad the topic of health and medicine is. It's so broad. I'm going to forget certain details and stuff like that. I have to look stuff up myself. If anybody's, thinks that they're an all-knowing God of anything, they're wrong. There's, it's too difficult to remember everything all at once. And even for my short videos, I have to look up some stuff to make sure that I'm actually being proper and correct. But I'm also trying to get you guys to be able to look this stuff up yourself as well and figure out, where to put your eyes on and how to make some sense out of it. So all these labels that you see, like non-GMO is a good one too. Like figure out what that actually means and what was the criteria that they used to get that on the label. And not to mention, even with products that you've known for years, always continually look at the labeling, especially in the back, where there's the tiny letters with all the nutrition facts and sugars and all that stuff, because we've seen a bunch of examples where a certain popular product has changed over time. You can see that with Coke, for example, Coke and Pepsi. They've changed over time. Gatorade has changed over time to now where it's like all these random ass ingredients. And it used to not be like that. But also 40, 50 years ago, we didn't have this issue of obesity also. So again, I'm not going to tell you the answers per se as to what could be causing that. It's up to you guys to one, look it up yourself so that you can actually buy into it better than me just saying, hey, this is crap, this is crap, this is crap, and just say it right off the bat in a short little clip. I'm trying to get you guys to ask the questions yourself and be curious yourself to unplug yourself ultimately.
We value the stuff that we work for, and that's good. I like that you try and get the folks to work for you. Give them the little teasers, and then they have to go and do the work. And that's actually how you like.
Yeah, and you have the choice. You have the choice of not listening to me. Also, you don't have to do everything I say. That's totally. It's your body. But it's also whatever actions that you do take, though, you're responsible for ultimately. But yeah, I just kind of point you in the right direction, and then you just kind of see if you think I'm totally full of shit or if you actually believe me. But I want you to buy into it though. I don't want you to just take my word just because I have an MD next to my name. I mean, okay, that's nice. I have an MD next to my name, great. But there's plenty of other MDs that give really, really bad advice about nutrition that it's just people listen to them all the time as well. So. Just because I have an MD next to my name doesn't mean I know everything. And also, I'm always correct. So, yeah.
You know what's kind of cool, and I just thought of this, is we want you to listen to us just as much as Big Pharma wants you to listen to them. The difference is you don't pay us. So, do what you please.
Yeah. I mean, my channel has put me in the negative quite deeply, but yeah. It's a work in progress. So I appreciate the support from everybody who's watching today. Yeah, obviously, if there's anything that you guys want to see more of or you want to learn more about, though, please sound off in the comments or whatever.
Yes, actually,
yeah.
I'm glad that you bring that up, because we do have a question from one of the audience members Mrs. Producer Hex Glenn at 40 minutes after the top of the hour, he asked a question. A bit of an aside, any thoughts on how to stop the big C, meaning cancer, I presume, once it
Once it's
is spotted?
Depends on the cancer. So, okay, let's start with cancer is not equivalent across the board. So there's cancers that don't do much, and then there's cancers that do a shitload.
Yep.
So that's the number one.
Bluetooth
So
cancers.
I have to give you. So I have to give you. This would take the entire it would take another 2 hours, but unfortunately, I have to give you a different answer for depending on what the cancer is. So once it's that's kind of one of the telltale conundrums we have in medicine is being able to spot it, number one, because sometimes the reason why pancreatic cancer is such a bad cancer is because it's hard to detect in its early stages, and we really only detect it when you are already it's already a late stage. That's the major problem with pancreatic cancer, for example, is that its detection is very we don't have great ways to screen for it. But there are certain cancers like prostate cancer, which they did autopsies on men 60 and over, and they found some form of prostate cancer in like most of them. It doesn't do anything though. That's why nobody said anything, or they died of other reasons, for example. So that's the spectrum that you have with cancer. The general principle though is to optimize your body well enough so that you don't have to worry about that. And that's kind of also the tricky part about prevention science is it's really, really hard to prove that something doesn't happen.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
I remember us having this conversation.
Yeah. It's extremely difficult to prove that, this actually prevented this thing from happening. It's one of the toughest things to
Proving a
get
negative.
people to buy into. Yeah, proving a negative. You have to almost do it by, if you don't do you almost have to do it in a way that, unfortunately, the other intervention, if you don't, or sorry, that the no intervention has more disease than the other. It's really hard to do that. You have to design the study in a certain way, to be able to do it, and also you have to make it a long-term study. A long-term study is the longer you go out, the more expensive it gets, the more time it takes, obviously. But like if you're following patients for 20, 30, 40 years, or till they're dead, it makes it's expensive because you need manpower to do that. And it obviously takes time because it's a long-term study. And so long-term studies are really, really hard to pull off in general. That's ideal. We would love to have that. In an ideal world, we'd love to have that and be able to fast forward time, but we don't really have that luxury of time, because especially for when you go out to the 20+ year mark, you're talking about a different generation. So that makes it real tough to figure that out, to get that in the world of science. Like longevity science is really, really difficult in that regard.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That's something that Richard Hart is talking about all the time is longevity, long life. And you're right, because you can look back, say, 12,000 years ago, and it was the average age of a human lifespan was 47 years. Nowadays, it's 74?
74, 78, yeah.
Yeah. And in the coming years, we may get over 100. So yeah, I definitely get what you're talking about there. However, there's definitely correlations that you can find that's like, this is kind of suspiciously close. If you were to go ahead and say, back 200 years ago when they didn't have, about 200, 300 years ago when they didn't have the processed industrial type food that we have nowadays, what were the cancer rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was most likely the causes of cancers back then? Maybe it was like cigars, right? You get lung cancer, but you never got any of these like maybe other types of cancers, right? So there's these correlations where it's like all of a sudden we get this industrialized processed food, and now all of a sudden there's all new types of cancers everywhere. And I do understand that it's like, well, maybe you just didn't have the technology back then, but the people still lived.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you can start connecting dots of like, hey, I can kind of see where things are a little bit suspicious, you know.
So
And
2 points. Yeah. So 2 points to that. So one, yes, the we have an increased life expectancy from back in yonder days, but also note that one could argue that the longer lives didn't necessarily equate to more years of quality years.
Yep.
So that's one piece. Second one is I can't remember where I heard this from. We'll have to double check it because it's been a while since I've last heard it. But the one medical science miracle, I don't want to call it a miracle, but medical science intervention that had the best effect on the number of years somebody lived was actually in neonatology, which is the specialty for newborn babies. So nowadays, I can see I see plenty of usually preterm newborns, basically babies that were born before the expected gestational age of 40 weeks. That's generally the normal pregnancy would last is about 40 weeks. I see babies born at 24 weeks and surviving and getting into adulthood nowadays. So if you think about that, it's obviously going to sway the direction that way in terms of in favor of a longer life, because you back in yonder days, those patients or those really, really tiny babies, those preterm babies didn't live, or they had no chance. So you're taking, a number was really, really low, and now you're changing their narrative to, into adulthood. So that's definitely going to increase the average for sure. So it made sense when I heard that. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's amazing how like we could do that nowadays. And again, that's that's why it makes me sad that we want to we have the capability of doing that. It makes me sad that people want to uh, you know unalive their late term fetuses, because
Yeah.
we have the technology to do that. And it's a beautiful thing. That's like one of the things that that one of the few things that I kind of admire in terms of in modern medicine um, is that we can those babies can survive, which is it's great. So anyway, that in that argument, like that's like the major thing. It's not the hypertension pills. It's not the statins. It's not the dialysis machines. Those arguably they do make your quality of life a lot lower, but it hasn't been the major contributor to longer life expectancies. It's that was the main thing that they were able to point to, where um, that increased life expectancy over the years. Yeah, at least the one modern healthcare intervention. Yeah.
I heard from someone recently, and I can't remember if it was Andrew Huberman or one of his other compadres, but it might have been one of the gentlemen over at the Sens Foundation, or something like that. But they were saying that like one of the things that you can do, like the most effective thing you can do as a human being to extend your life, is to get good sleep, to become a sleeping expert professional, and just get really good quality sleep all the time. And I thought, like, it's funny how so many things in life are just like all the simple, obvious stuff, like drink some water, go to sleep, brush your teeth, tie your shoes. It's like it's amazing how often like eat simple foods that you get locally from a person or that you made yourself, right? Like it's crazy how often like the best answer is the easiest answer.
Yeah, sleep. Again, this is like I said before, we ignore the fact that our body does a good job of healing itself, and that's the biggest one, in my opinion, is sleep. And that's probably one of the first things I ask if people want to either lose weight or get their testosterone up, is how much are you sleeping and how's your quality of sleep? That's like one of the first questions I ask. And there's another jumping point off of that. We also tend to ignore our bodies and how they're reacting to things. It's very funny. Like, if let's just a simple example would be, if there's a certain food out there that's yes, it tastes great, and it had the food was tasted delicious, and you want to eat it again, but 15 minutes after you ate that certain food, you either had a stomach ache, or you had a headache, or you got really, really fatigued afterwards. We tend to ignore that kind of stuff and just focus on the dopamine release that we got from the food. So especially sugary foods is the biggest culprit of that. So yeah, we do a really poor job of that in general, because we want that dopamine hit more than we want to listen to our bodies. And you can say that you can say that for a lot of things in life, not just that, but like porn, social media, video games. We just want to keep having those dopamine hits over and over again, but we know that it's causing a negative effect on our lives. We're just not listening to that as well. So yeah, I mean, sleep. So going back to sleep, we, again, with the screens that we have, the amount of things that divert our attention, and the fact that our lives are pretty busy for the most part. I would argue that the average American's just general life and sort of quote busyness has increased over the years with all sorts of different factors. And the added stress in our lives, financial stress, relationship stress, whatever, all that all that leads to crappier sleep. So, and you need sleep for your body to heal itself. And it kind of, one of the weird quirks about a hospital is that you get woken up. If anybody's been admitted to a hospital before, I don't know if you guys have been admitted to a hospital before. Yeah.
So
how were you able to get sleep in the hospital?
Oh, I don't remember.
Hell no, especially not with a baby needing to be fed.
Well, no. So a lot of times, and I remember this when I did my my intern year, because I had to work in the medicine wards. They get woken up like if the doctor orders vital signs every 4 hours, they get woken up for that stuff. They got to take your blood pressure. They got to do all sorts of things. They got to draw blood. You get woken up for that because you got a needle shoved in your arm. You get woken up probably, unless you're really that out of it. But yeah, in the hospital, like, it's not a great place to get sleep. It really isn't. From both the worker and the patient standpoint, by the way. Like, the nurses definitely go get sleep, at least if they work the night shift. But it's funny that like that gets downplayed in a hospital when you're supposed to be in the hospital to heal. It's kind of counterintuitive. So going back to a point that you made, Nate, in the beginning, is like, when do you draw that line between incentives versus for my own beliefs? Like, so when I was rotating through the medicine wards, I actually like put a specific order, which took a few extra minutes for me to make, but say no vitals after midnight. So I had to specifically say that so they don't get woken up, or between 12 and 8, something like that, so that they can actually sleep.
Give them time. Yeah.
Give them time, because and the other thing is like, especially with vitals, like, if you get woken up, your blood pressure and your heart rate are all going to go up. So like, it's not a great time to take it anyway. So all things get confounded. That was the original purpose for that maneuver, was to not do that, because it's going to skew the data a lot. A lot of random things can spike up your blood pressure, your heart rate, your oxygenation status, that have nothing to do with hypertension or the fact that you're unhealthy. It's, if you exercise, let's say I run the treadmill for 5 minutes, come back and sit down here right away and take my blood pressure, it's going to be high. That doesn't mean I have hypertension. It's because I just exercised.
Yeah.
But it's how you measure something that also matters too. What you're supposed to do is, one, like, get your heart rate down just to resting heart rate, and then just chill on chill, like I'm sitting here right now, chill, and just don't think about anything for a little bit. Wait about 1 or 2 minutes for everything to kind of get back down, and then take your blood pressure. Because I see people getting put on, I've seen this at least a handful of times, where they got put on hypertension medicines when the measurement was not right. Because I remeasured them myself. I did it myself. I tell you, I just did exactly what I just said just now.
Yeah.
Have them sit down and just be like, just chill out for a little bit. Let's just chill out for a little bit. Give it like 3 to 5 minutes. And then I take their blood pressure and, try to not also just try not to add stress to them. Also, don't talk about like, politics all of a sudden or that sort of thing. Yeah. But like, just chill out, take the blood pressure, and it was normal. They didn't need any of that crap. Now a good primary care physician should do that. I mean, I know I learned this from a primary care physician, by the way. Like they learn that tactic from a primary care physician. The good ones should know to do that. The good ones know how to do that. But not all of them do. So I've seen plenty of patients that have gone put on blood pressure medications, or the doctor was saying, "Hey, you need a blood pressure medication," and then they come to me. They ask me like, "Oh, like, do I really need this?" That's how this discussion all happens because it's a poor measurement.
Yeah.
You know what that seems to me like? I kind of feel like sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like doctors are almost robots at this point. Kind of like it's just like an assembly line, where you walk in, you don't have time to see like individually go through every single person who's at the hospital. And so you basically have a checklist and you're like, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Is this how you feel? Right? Is this how you feel? And in the checklist, as it gets checked there, basically the doctor says, okay, you need this medicine, slap it over to their face, right? And then walk off to the next customer, right? It kind of seems like it's that. Would you agree with this, or do you feel maybe I'm a little bit off?
How else could you see 40 patients in a day?
You
Seriously.
You hit the magical button, Nate. Go.
40 patients in it, like what? So in an 8-hour day, let's do the math. 8-hour day divided by 40. So that's what, 8 times 60, 480 divided by 40. 480 divided by 8 times 60 is 480 divided by 40 is 112 minutes, right? 12 minutes?
It's 8 per hour. Or no, excuse me.
No.
5,
40 patients
5
in a
per
day.
hour.
So 40 patients in an 8-hour day. So 8
Yep.
times
That's
60 is
5.
48 divided by 40.
It's 12. Yeah, you're
It's
right.
12.
It is 12. Yeah.
I'm Asian. I know how to do math.
That's true. You are. Here we go.
12 minutes. So 12 minutes, right? We're not counting lunch break. Okay. So 12 minutes per patient on average.
It's
right?
ridiculous.
How much, like we're going on for 2 hours right now.
Yeah.
And we talked about a lot of stuff, granted, but like, how much did we talk about in 12 minutes? Probably not a ton. I mean, it's still good conversation, but we didn't talk about a ton of stuff in 12 minutes.
It's hard to cram a lot of value into 12 minutes.
Yeah, you have to be robotic. Otherwise, you can't make that quota. Or you can't get to that whole everybody unless you want to stay till like 10 o'clock at night every day, which nobody wants to do, right? So yeah, like you kind of have to be. We're sort of programmed to be that way. We have to check the boxes and get things moving. And we don't we don't have any personal time to do. And I can't remember 40 patients' names off the top of my head. I can barely remember, people that I just met yesterday, their names, like it's just, you have to, we have all this EMR technology that can help us with this kind of stuff, but like, still, like, not only that you have the patient talking to the patient for 12 minutes, but you have to look at their chart to see what else what they're coming in for. You have to look at their data that they got already. You have to look at any labs that they got. You have to look at all their data along with a 12-minute talk. So like it's probably more than 12 minutes that they have to spend. And then write the note. You got to write your note so you get paid by the insurance companies. So yeah, like there's a lot more to than just the 12-minute visit. And I'm probably overestimating it, to be quite honest with you. If you're seeing 40 patients a day, it's usually the surgeons that see that many patients, by the way. Primary care is probably a little bit higher than that, but random aside. Anyway, so like, but you have to be somewhat robotic. You almost like have to have these asking certain questions so that you get to from point A to point B a lot faster. But if you miss certain details, though, yeah, you're gonna potentially miss out on a potential treatment that they could have used that's probably less invasive than something else that you were trying to go for. So we're almost like giving ourselves we're almost biasing ourselves. We're biasing ourselves to a certain outcome almost.
Yeah.
And the
How-
fastest outcome is a pill, a treatment, a consultation. So like, or like a referral to another physician, et cetera, et cetera. Like it goes on and on and on. Like we just keep on, we end up passing the buck. And that's where you have the referrals, and then it gets all confabulated in multiple people's opinions that they all of which whom seen the patient no more than 20 minutes.
Okay, so I'm a master licensed pest controller, and it's the same sort of deal with me as well in my profession, where you're supposed to do a 40-minute treatment and talk to the person, and also do a couple of like friendly gestures to them as well, and you're supposed to do it in 30 minutes. So I completely understand exactly what you're talking about. This is unfortunately what corporatization is, where it's you got to go, do the absolute minimum, just get it all done and do it quickly. So because I understand this on the exact same level as you, what do you think is, or at least maybe in your opinion, do you think could be the fix to this, or maybe like some sort of addition to the normal like base level stuff? What should be that add-on? I'll go ahead and put it that way. What should be the add-on that maybe people need to take an extra step, or maybe somebody else could do something to help get away from this corporatization? Just throw a pill at it.
I want to add. Let me know if this is appropriate, Nate. What can doctors do, and what can patients do to make the process better? Is that kind of like what you're looking for, Nate, or were you going in a different direction?
That's part one, right?
Okay.
That's part one, but part two, is there something extra that we could add on, or is it not necessary to add on something extra?
It's a pretty loaded question, actually. So, what could doctors do? Well, if they want to get paid less, they can have fewer patients during the day. But I don't think most people would sign up for that unless they could find a way.
Presupposing they're this is in a hospital, right? Where you're
No, like an outpatient clinic, like any outpatient clinic, for example. If you are used to seeing 40 patients a day, right, and you get paid a certain amount for seeing those 40 patients a day, if you want to see fewer patients and spend more time with them, but still keep an 8-hour day, you would just get paid less.
What is a patient worth?
That depends on the specialty. Like I can't say an exact number, for example, but
fair.
It's because, and also what you do with them. Essentially, it just depends on, and also how much the insurance company pays you.
That's a whole other thing.
There's a whole lots of factors that go into that number, and it's always different. I feel like every time I query for it. So yeah, that's one piece to that. So yeah, I mean, or you just get out of the insurance. So if you're a doctor, for example, if you get out of the insurance game and only accept cash pay, that makes things a lot easier for yourself. It's just a tough thing to do in general. Because your patient population will change for sure. So that's one thing a doctor could do to make his or her situation better, right?
And that's better for both parties, right? Or is it?
I think so. Oh yeah, I think so.
That's what I think as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that have gone through or have now used concierge medicine doctors, or doctors that are outside the insurance system, and they're able to spend more time with them. They can follow up with them better. They don't have to write they don't have to do the silly little things that insurance companies make us do. For example, whenever we make a note, we have to have like certain baseline things, otherwise the insurance companies don't pay us. So that can make our notes extremely long, that they have to be like I could, even for me as a radiologist, when I write out my reports, I could probably make most of my reports a paragraph or two to say what I need to say. But the fact that I need certain sections, I need to write I need to write that we use the lowest radiation possible because blah 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 blah. Just to say that has nothing to do with patient care. It has nothing to do with the patient. Doesn't give a shit about that. Like, but it makes my entire note longer and harder and just more difficult to read. That's you have to sort of filter out a lot more noise. because otherwise the insurance companies just don't pay us. There's a lot of, again, what pisses me off about medicine the most, or at least modern medicine the most, is that there are people that have never seen or touched a patient in their lives that are making policies for us and telling us what to do.
Yep.
Right. Telling us what to
Same
do.
thing we belabor in the crypto sphere is we're sick of the middlemen in the traditional finance space, the banks, the people that interject themselves in between the customer and the service provider.
Right.
all those little variations, like what we were talking about earlier with me and the farmer to get the meat, right? And there's nobody that goes and loads it on a truck, puts it up, picks it up on the forklift, drives it in. There's a guy that sits in the freezer and puts a tag on it and wraps it in saran wrap. Like, the more people that are in the middle of the process, the less efficient the process, and the more expensive the whole thing gets, and the more like corners are cut and shit just gets all haywire. So like, is that just the easy solution? Is just like become freelance doctor, and if you're a patient, go to freelance doctors instead of going to, oh, I've got an anecdote here for you. And I think I told you this. A friend of mine needed an IV because he was dehydrated. And so we went to urgent care. Urgent care could not give him an IV. Whatever. Okay, that whole process took an hour, right? 15 minutes at the urgent care, 45 minutes to drive there. Cool beans, whatever. Hour spent, no solution. So it's like, okay, next thing we're doing is we're trying a hospital, because hospital's a place of medicine. That's where you get medicine at. They can do an IV, easy peasy. We go to the ER, right? He signs in, does the insurance thing. 5 fucking hours pass, no solutions. And I call him up. I'm like, yo, bro, like, I just Googled like the Grubhub of IVs, right? Is there a system in this town that will deliver an IV to your door and administer it to you? And it's like, yeah, $200, no sweat. And so we Googled some other things, and we're like, oh, I didn't know you could get fucking IV deliveries. Like, that's kick ass. And we ended up going to a gym, a fucking a fitness gym in a wealthier part of the town, where they have spas, they have cold treatment, they have hot treatment, they have massage chairs, and they have IV service where they do all sorts of little IV packages. Some like are full of like vitamins and minerals. Other ones are like for specifically hydration. There's a whole slew of options. And it's like, holy fuck, I didn't know this private industry existed. We solved the problem 20 minutes. We spent 6 hours of our day fucking around doing the conglomerate medicine practice between urgent care and hospital care and insurance bullshit. And then we're just like, fuck this shit, paying $200 out of pocket, going to a gym, getting an IV, problem solved. Like, it's cut out the middlemen in everything in your life, in finances, in health, in politics, in every fucking thing. So like, is that it might not be the answer, but it's an answer.
It's a general, it's a general principle of the answer. Yes. With regards to the patient, what can the patient do? Well, not need to seek care all the time, so that you're sort of reliant on the system and getting into the gerbil wheel of, okay, I'm getting, following up for this medication that I'm on, and then the next one. Really, it becomes that endless cycle. So just being healthy in the first place, and just not just being healthy, like that's probably a too broad of a term. Being very, very well of your own health and what you are all about, the more you know about yourself and how your body works, and also more about, you don't have to go to medical school to learn some of this stuff. Like, just be curious as to like, what your surroundings are like, and to how to best optimize these things for you, and just be aware of what certain policies mean for you, what certain what certain things in the supermarket, what do they mean essentially? Like, what do the labels mean? What things what are red flags in products, and what are some green flags in products, that sort of thing. Just knowing your environment so well, and just being aware of your reality in general can help mitigate a lot of these things, and to the end point of you're getting healthier. right? Without having to go through these pharmacological interventions. I see those as last minute resorts. If you nothing else has been tried, that but I guess what ends up happening is that people go to those interventions first. They don't realize there's all these other things that are out there that could be done before that. So that's another thing that I want to that I wanted to get people to know, is that instead of going to the ER, going to get a pill first, you try these things and give it time. Like don't expect on everything that I'm saying to have an instant result, because we're so addicted to this instant gratification. That's what pills can do, is they can give you that instant gratification. You have strep throat, for example, you can go to get amoxicillin and get that instantly taken care of. It's not a good example for me because I need my voice. If I have strep throat, it's going to be really, really annoying to have to deal with that for 3 days, especially if I'm working. So I would get the antibiotic if that's the case. I mean, again, that's a decision you should make for yourself. But nowadays, the last time I had strep throat was like 10 years ago. Nowadays, my decision, which we can get into in a bit, is try to fight it out. try to stick through. Let the body heal itself. Give it time, because the antibiotics, for long story short on that, can mess up your gut, and it can cause a lot of problems later on. You can get resistance to the antibiotics, et cetera, et cetera. And my life is not in danger from a strep throat, God forbid.
Yeah.
So I can give the body time to heal, but sometimes, the instant gratification, okay, you tend to give in, but you at least know what you're getting into when you do that, and know how to mitigate the problems that may come thereafter. So for the patient, it's really just knowledge. It's really just in knowing all your options, because I think a lot of patients think that they have they only have one option, and they're, in fact, for most things, there's plenty of options, but also note that those options can only be exercised far in advance. Once you get hit with a certain diagnosis of, like, let's just say cancer, for example, once you get hit with a diagnosis, then your options dwindle quite significantly. Where to start getting desperate. So do it now versus before you hit the hospital, because there's at that point it could be too late.
One of the biggest issues, and I think this is kind of where we run into, is correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of your main speech there, the main idea behind it, was that you get an instant gratification versus just wait it out, try natural remedies first, give it some time. And you unfortunately gave the example of the strep throat, and you need your throat to feel better because of certain activities that you'll do. And I think that right there is the key to the reason why we live in a pill economy, because we live in a life of speed, and we're moving to different places so fast that we absolutely have to have our symptoms treated right away. Now, actually, I use this analogy in my own work, where it's like, hey, if you're getting mice inside the house, that's a symptom of a greater disease that's on the outside. You got a population on the outside, right? So just killing the ones on the inside isn't going to solve it. It'll make you feel better, for Thanksgiving, right? But it's not going to solve the problem. So ultimately, what I think what we're running into here is we're running into the problem of the instant gratification because I have to go to work tomorrow, right? Versus I need a week's worth of rest and able to heal up properly. And what I don't want to say advice, but what I'm gleaning off of this is the best possible thing you can do is, yes, go ahead, take the pills or whatever, to be able to continue working, to be able to continue your lifestyle, right? However, you need to actively figure out, and I'll get to this, the issue that I have with the knowledge as well, right? But you have to actively try and figure out how to naturally and healthily, almost you could say, heal the problem through time, and start actively doing that right away. Okay. Now, this brings up another problem, though. So now that we've kind of gotten like, hey, we do need a little bit of a balance here. Now here's an issue. There are some people who move so fast in life, who are so busy in life, that they're the amount of money, like say they bring in, it's actually more worth it to pay somebody who is an expert, so-called expert, to just take care of it for you.
Mhm.
You know? So when you're sitting there saying, well, try and learn the symptoms, try and learn what's going on with your body. Well, it's like, well, I'm also trying to learn my finances with crypto, and that's a very complicated thing. I'm also trying to learn, the Fed and what's actually, what is actual money, how does that work? Oh, by the way, my car just broke down, so now I got to go and try and figure out how I can actually fix the car. And you start running into an overload,
Mhm.
and so it's like, okay, so when do you get to a point where you have to just say, hey, I'm just going to pay this person. I'm going to go in. This person's an expert. I'm going to pay this person just to take care of me. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I really don't have time, nor do I have the mental capacity to be able to learn all of this. When do you get to that point?
Hmm.
I have a thought.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go. So my thought is everything that you're describing, Nate, sounds like giving everyone involved, specifically the person that's making the decision, obtaining more power. So first thing, you have to get the information, right? If you don't have information, you can't make a good decision. But the goal of all this stuff is to give you more tools in your toolbox to solve the problem. So by addressing the problem of like, I don't have power in this situation, by like getting the technician to solve your problem for you, spending the money to do it yourself, getting more time so that you can sit in bed and rest properly. If you like whether you want to sit in bed and rest, or whether you want to like pay someone else to give you a quick easy fix, like if you only have one of those options, then you don't have the power in the scenario. But getting the ability to do either. Like
Mhm.
if I call up my work and say like, hey boss, I can't climb towers for a week because that's what I have decided is the thing that I need to do. Then he's like, okay, cool beans. Or he says like, ah, you're fired or whatever, and then I say, got it, this is my decision. I'm good with it. Or if I say, hey boss, I'm calling up the doctor and he's going to drive up on site and give me a shot of adrenaline, and that's going to fix my problem.
Mhm.
And the adrenaline costs you $10 million, and I fork over $10 million. I say, here you go. Like, you have to have the power to truly address the problem. So like, you get the power, you get the information, you make the good, well-informed decision. I was thinking of like, as you guys were both talking, I was thinking of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and the whole like, you have to know thyself and you have to know the enemy. And so like, you
Mhm.
got to know yourself and what you're capable of doing, and you have to know the enemy, whether the enemy is like the thing that's fighting you and tearing you apart, or whether it's the health company, or not the health company, the Western medicine system that's slowing you down, or whatever, right? Like the mismanaged medications, whatever the hell. Like, the more you know and the more you're able to do, the more of these problems you can solve. So basically, what it all just boils down to is become more sovereign, get more information, know more people, solve more problems, get more money, increase your health, get as much power as possible, and then you can solve all these problems and do that sort of thing. So that, like, I'm zooming out on what you guys were talking about to a more of like a 30,000-foot view than like something specifically relegated to the topic of conversation. But that was the thought that was passing through my head. What about you, Alan?
No, you brought up a good point. Like, you don't have to be an expert in all this. And yes, you can hire people to tell you just that. But I'll give an analogy to cars. Okay. Yes, you can hire a mechanic to fix your car, change your oil, right? But you need to have a certain basic knowledge think about, one, does my car really have a problem? Because sometimes if you go through a diagnosis of some sort, they may bring up some fancy schmancy language that you may or may not be familiar with, or most people may not be familiar with. But if you can kind of seed through that a little bit, or look it up yourself and be like, hey, does this mean I need to get this done now? Like, do I need to pay $1,000 an hour, or can I wait next week and bring it to somebody else so they can do it for cheaper, right? If you have some baseline knowledge of certain situations, of mostly everything in your reality, for example, you can save yourself a lot of time and energy, and also you can probably prevent yourself from getting I hate to use this word, but like getting scammed from other people or getting misled. That's a better word. Getting misled by other people. If you kind of have a basic knowledge, it's like, wait a minute, is what this person actually said makes sense, or they're trying to do something else. Um, like I bring up the the mechanic thing because this has happened to me a bunch, and I've had to learn a little bit more about cars than I do now, and to figure things out. But I definitely would, when it comes to cars, I don't want to do a lot of maintenance on my own because Lord knows I may screw it up. I at least want to have somebody watching me do it if I do try to do it myself. And there's certain things that most people could do by themselves, like uh, taking out the electrodes on a car battery. Somebody should do by themselves, like that. They shouldn't have to hire anybody to do it, but people do hire people to do that. By the way, or certain very basic things. If I know, and once I know the general the way things work, like on a very basic scale, like you can sort yourself out a lot of problems and also sort your way through some bullshit as well. So when it comes to health, for example, if you're generally aware that let's just say the components of these fast foods, for example, are really bad for you. But then your doctor all of a sudden is telling you, oh yeah, it's okay to eat McDonald's. Like, would you? So then it makes you think, well, I have a baseline knowledge, like, yeah, fast food is probably what's making most Americans fat. Should I really be taking this? Should I really seeing that advice would be to not have to worry about fast food? It makes you think a little bit. It makes you think twice about that. At least it makes you think, like, wait a minute, is what he's saying true? Is the doctor fat himself?
Yep.
Or unhealthy himself? Could he barely finish 2 sentences without trying to take another breath, a deep breath? So yeah, if you can have basic knowledge on all these things, I'm not expecting everybody to be complete experts, but like be able to you can ask the right questions and sort through some bullshit. And just kind of, or at least bring yourself to the point where, like, okay, maybe I need to investigate this further before I go to something. This is true for investing also. Like, if you invest in another business, you should know something about the business before you invest, right? Like, I mean, you may have to learn something new, but like, you want to know certain things before you actually put your money into it as well. So it's the same thing. You should have a basic knowledge of most things in life and yes, when you have to hire somebody because you need to have more time to do it, you can at least hire the right person, or hire someone that'll do the job correctly, that you at least who you at least can tell that they know what they're talking about. So as I've gotten older, when I started learning more different things about the world, like, I've been able to do that better. And I made plenty of mistakes along the way with it comes to that. But it's lessons worth having, but also, like, it's some things that we should all probably have had knowledge sooner, because this definitely wasn't taught in schools, like, especially finances. We're not taught in schools very well, at least public schools. But we should all have a basic understanding of, like, the most important things in the world.
I've got a follow. Go ahead and ask your question, Nate. Once you're done, I've got a follow on. Well,
Okay, so I just want to kind of put a cherry on top of this. So we've kind of come back.
Same.
We've kind of come back around to the idea of just basically have a little bit of common sense.
Mhm.
Never take anyone directly for their word and automatically think of it as the gospel. Always have that mindset of questioning things, kind of like, I'll use the doctor example. The doctor says, yeah, I think you need to go eat a McDonald's cheeseburger, right? And you're like,
I would say most doctors would not say that, but
well,
I've commented on a couple of them that would on my channel. So it's not they exist, unfortunately, but they're quite rare.
Well, it is what it is, right? But let's just go ahead and say, there's a doctor that actually says that, and you're like, okay, so this is where the mindset goes like this. Wait, my doctor, isn't McDonald's like really bad for you? Why is my doctor saying I need one, right? And then maybe the doctor's just like, well, okay, you're not eating any kind of fats at all. You've only really eaten like vitamins and stuff like that. Okay, so you're deficient in, fill in the blank. And the doctor's like, at this point, it's so bad, you just need something really fatty to get in your system. Go to McDonald's, just have one of those really terrible sandwiches, something like that, right? Maybe he'd say like butter, right? If a real doctor, but I'm just giving a fair example here, right? If it's something simple like that, it's like, all right, well, one McDonald's sandwich is not going to kill me, right?
True.
However, if the doctor's like, yep, you're going to need to eat one of these a week, every single week for the next like 3 years,
sandwiches.
it's like, whoa, okay, that doesn't sound right to me. Is there any other method? Because I'm pretty sure this is wrong. And that's where that's where you need that question, right?
And just to make things clear, because this definitely will get taken out of context. Again, this is not health advice, but I would recommend everybody to not eat fast food. Period. There are certain ways to navigate the fast food system, which is going to be the topic of my future videos. Is like let's just say you happen to run into an In-N-Out, for example, and you're just that hungry, or you're going with your family or whatever. So you're sort of in a jam as to, okay, maybe I have to eat here. The one option would be to fast and try to make a statement, which that's what I do. That's what I would do. But since I'm a very unique individual, as is everybody else. There are certain other ways to navigate it where it won't compromise your health as much as if you just ate the shittiest parts of the menus at these places. So that's like some of my future videos to sort yourself out on that front. It's like, what if you're in a jam? What do you get, essentially? But anyway, back to your point. So yeah, I mean, you got, unfortunately, with most of the public, they don't really have any basic knowledge to stand from, unfortunately, because nowadays with schooling, they don't teach a lot of these things that are really, really important. Finances is a big one. Nutrition is the way the nutrition is taught in grade school is absolutely atrocious. With the food pyramid, that's full of shit. They actually stopped teaching that. They made it the plate, I think, now is what they're doing, where they split into forts, which is a little better. I don't totally agree with it, but that's okay. Well, that's another topic for another time. But anyway, because most people like just kind of either go with what's they go with their dopamine hits, like where the dopamine takes them, or they just listen to the first person that they can get a handle with, or first person with a credential next to their name, right? So that's where you can get misled. I like to use that word better into certain things. Crypto is a great example too, by the way. You need to know the basics of, like, you don't need to know every single thing about every blockchain, because there's so many rabbit holes you can go into. Shitcoin, meme coin, CO coin, all these terms that get thrown around. But if you know the general basics of like how crypto works and what's its function, you'll figure out how it's going to work for you the best. Because I used to do it some of the meme coins, stuff like that, and I did really poorly, and I realized that was a good like $2,000 lesson. It was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing this because I can't keep track of any of that crap. It's not worth it for me. But as long as you know how these things work on a general level, you won't run into these issues. And sometimes it takes a $2,000 lesson to be able to figure that out. So same thing goes with healthcare. Sometimes it takes a visit to the doctor, which sometimes can run a bill, to figure some stuff out. But hopefully you can, wherever your source of information comes from, it's at least a decent one, to where you can make the best decisions for yourself so that it doesn't happen to you.
I like it. This is good. I have a quick question for us to tee into, and then we're going to do a final round of chat shoutouts and make a move to close, because we've covered a shit ton of information. So before we go, I want to ask you, we've kind of been dancing around this topic already, so I think I know what your answer is going to be. But what is the first thing the people who are brand new to learning about this sort of, you know, unplugged health, what is the first thing that they can do as individuals to improve their health in a general sense? Or you could even target something specifically if you like. Like if you're like, you know what, I think that, you know, trimming fingernails is really important. So if you trim your fingernails once a week, then you'll be a-okay. You know, like what's a good starting point for someone that is brand new to this health stuff and brand new to this this world of improving the freedom that is good health.
So are we assuming that they're already unhealthy, or are we assuming that they just
We
feel
can
like they don't have like they were not trained in anything medical?
Yeah, they could be
We're gonna
anything. It's
yeah,
kind of general, like who if somebody is starting out and they
middle
say,
of the
I
bell
feel
curve.
like I need to get healthier, or I feel like I want to stay healthier.
Mhm.
You know, what specific doesn't really matter. It's just I feel like I want to get healthier, right?
Yeah.
What's the first step?
Sure.
So-
Knowing what you're doing right now.
Ooh. What
Because
isn't measured isn't managed.
yeah, so what okay, so yeah, your weight, you can do a body fat, you can go height. Well, height doesn't change, but like height, weight, body fat, you can go blood pressure, heart rate, just general vitals. Knowing those numbers, those basic numbers, you can go further than that with labs. Shout out to Private MD Labs, it's one of my affiliates.
Hey, there you go.
10% or 50% off with code unplugged MD.
We're about to launch into that here shortly, so we'll give you plenty of time to plug your stuff.
So yeah, no, but your labs, so like your general well-being labs, and I would include testosterone in there for men and women, by the way. Hormone labs, essentially, because you'd be surprised at how low it is. I was surprised when I first learned it. So labs, all sorts of measurements that you know where you're starting from, because obviously, as you're alluding to, you need to compare what happened, or what were you like before this intervention, and then what happened afterwards, to see if it actually made a difference.
Okay.
Because that's how you can evaluate everything moving forward. So if you decide to change X thing, so let's just say, for example, you decided to
Develop your
stop.
control, your baseline.
Let's just say you decided to get off soda, just stop it completely, which I recommend everybody doing, by the way.
Good one.
But again, this is not health advice, but I'm saying I'm recommending soda. So let's just say I take away soda, for example. Well, before I did that, I was 240 pounds. Actually, no, this is a real life story. So I was my highest weight ever was, I think, when I was in high school. No, not high school, middle school. Actually, yeah, that was my highest weight ever, because I was a fat kid growing up. I was 201, and I was like, this didn't fly. And for one reason or another, that was my intervention, was to stop drinking soda. So guess how much I lost, how much weight I lost in 2 weeks. I was down to 190. Yeah, I was down to 190 in 2 weeks by just one intervention. I didn't do anything. I didn't exercise more. I didn't change the rest of my diet. I just stopped drinking sodas.
And you're 5'10", right? 5'11", 5'10", something like that.
5'10" on a good day. 5'9". That's what
5'9". Okay, so 5'9" at 190. That's not a bad. You know, going from 200 pounds at 5'9" to 190 at 5'9" in 1 week. That's pretty damn significant. Like,
2 weeks.
Two weeks. 2 weeks. That's a good number.
That's still a lot. That's still a lot of weight in 2 weeks. That's still
yeah.
quite a lot. Yeah.
So
Like,
so
I'll be
learn
happy
your
with
baselines.
Yeah, I'll be happy with 10 pounds in a month, honestly. Like, I would be very happy with that. But 2 weeks, I was like, oof.
Yeah, that's a bit faster than recommend. So learn your baseline, learn your numbers.
Well, that's a testament to how much.
Track of
By the way, that's a
where
testament
you
to how much
start.
soda I was drinking before.
Yeah,
that.
dude. That's pretty fucking nuts, man.
Yeah. But anyway, no, but like that's you learn yourself. This is really, it's your first step to learning yourself, because all this other stuff, like, is kind of it's trendy. It's, you know, some of it's sexy, some of it isn't, or whatever. Like, it's fun to do those things, but if you don't know where you started from, you can't appreciate where you are right now as much, and you're less likely to maintain it also, because you're kind of you're not aware of how you as in your body is. So like, that'll be my number one thing, is to just get some tests done. You can do DEXA scans, which can help you learn about your body fat composition and your muscle mass composition. There's all sorts of tests out there that you can do. Yeah.
Excellent. So learn your numbers. Stop drinking soda. There's probably something in there about sleep. What would you recommend for people in the sleep world?
Yeah.
I'm just
So if
covering the
you
basics here.
yeah. So let's do a quick sleep primer. Get as many screens out of your bedroom as possible. Your bed is only used for sex and sleep. And then, so if you have a TV in your room, get it out. Your cell phones and other screens should at least be on the next room over. If you need, for example, for me, I need my cell phone because people call me for emergencies. So I have to have ringers on, and I have to have it somewhat close to me. But
You can put it like face down though, right? And that'll help out quite a lot.
Yeah, you can. I need a noise to happen, otherwise I won't wake up when that happens, and then I get into trouble. So yeah, and then cold environment, as cold as you possibly can get it, is always better. You can even get those like those 8 sleeps. I got an 8 sleep where it makes my bed like legitimately cold, even on a hot day. Do not eat. I was like, my guideline is at least 3 hours before you go to bed, or eat or drink. That includes alcohol, by the way.
And
Sorry.
what
No, hold on. Wait. Back up. Let me rephrase that. Eat or drink alcohol at least 3 hours before going to bed, although that doesn't happen all the time. Yeah, if you can decrease your alcohol intake in general, though, that can improve your sleep. What were you saying before? What was your question?
Shit. What does the eating and sleeping before? Why 3 hours?
Allows your stomach to empty.
Okay, so sleeping on a full stomach, not good.
Yeah, you can get reflux that way. There's also there's a hormonal thing that I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up later. There's a hormonal component to it as well. I just can't name it off the top of my head. Again, I got to look shit up too. So it's I'm not the
so
only
there's
one.
general bad stuff happens digestively. Okay, got
it. I mean, not just digestively, but it's not optimal for you to do that in general for highest quality sleep possible. So yeah, but I think the quick solution, the quick 1, 2, 3 solution would be the screens out of the room as much as you possibly can. Obviously there's certain situations where you have to have a screen, but as many as you possibly can get out of the room, so that you're not inundated with the blue light, because the blue light can cause you to can cause your to throw off your circadian rhythms, as well as keep you awake a little longer than it should. That's why social media is so addicting, because it's on phones and it's got tons of blue light. There is a red light filter on your phone, by the way. You go like this. So there's a way to do it. I don't know if I can show this to you right now, but you can make your phone red, so it decreases the blue light. This is an iPhone, by the way.
Was that an app?
No, so it's a setting on your phone. Let me see if I can really quickly show everybody where it is. Let me see. So basically, you have to change your settings so that basically what happens is that when I click 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it turns red. So there's a way to do that, because that'll decrease the blue light exposure at night. I set this setting on at night, so that decreases the blue light exposure. So let me see. Obviously, I've only had to do it once, so it's hard for me to remember this. There's probably actually, you could probably Google it, how to do that. Probably just Google it, or somebody's done a video on it.
Night mode.
Yeah, it's basically red light mode. Yeah, you can probably Google it pretty easily. And both, I think, I'm pretty sure the Androids do it too. You can just have to look it up for your specific phone.
For all my fellow Android folks. All right, excellent. So for our generic advice,
hey, you're on the wrong mic.
Oh, son of a bitch! Hang on, I switched to my producer camera. Hang on a second. Thank you, Nate, for
Okay, and now we are on.
There you go. You are good now. You are good.
Awesome. Okay, excellent. Mrs. Producer, I'm in the producer chair. I'm ready to rock and roll. You can go ahead and do your thing. Thank you so much for producing for us tonight. And I am fully switched over. We're all ready to go here. Ooh, if I type in the chats, it will come up as Degen Roundtable. So that's pretty cool. All right, so to cover the advice for the folks at home, we've got one, know your baseline. Get a good set of measurements. Like step on a scale. If you can figure out your BMI, your BMR, those are some good things to know. Keep track of your calories, all that stuff. Blood pressure, know your baseline. Get a good starting point. Figure out where you're at. And then 2, what was 2? Get some good sleep. And then 3 was don't eat and drink and stuff and have a plan with your phone. So
get the screens out of your bedroom.
Yes.
And your bedroom is only used for sex and sleep. That's it.
Okay. There we go. All right. So
don't use it. So basically, don't use it for working.
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately guilty of that. I'm not perfect. I do it sometimes when I'm in a pinch. That's what I mean. But that's what I mean by that. Your bedroom's only used for sex and sleep. That's it. Like don't try to do work and because otherwise it's harder for you to get used to the setting of sleeping. That's like kind of the general term for that.
Yeah, don't have your office right over there, right?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. All right, so that's what we've got for the good advice. Know your baseline, get good sleep, and get your daggone screens out of the bedroom. All right, so with that being said, this is some good advice for the folks at home, something for you guys to start on. We're going to roll into chat shoutouts, and as soon as chat shoutouts is over, we're going to give the good doctor here a chance to shout out all of his socials and all of his products and everything. And I will be dropping the links in the description or in the live chat for you guys to click on if you all want to go check out his stuff and see what he's doing. The biggest one is he's got something similar to a link tree, but we'll send you all of the links down in there. It'll be a flood of links, and you guys will have an excellent, awesome time. But until then, it's time for chat motherfucking shout-outs, the part of the show where we shout you all out. And we greatly appreciate y'all for interacting with us. So, from Mr. Tofu369, we've got what kind of doctor? And to answer your question, Mr. Tofu369, Alan is a pediatric radiologist. That is his specialty, but he is able to do a whole lot more than that. That's just his that's what
pays the bills.
That's what pays the bills, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows a lot of things and he knows where to find them. So that's what he does, Mr. Tofu369. But thank you for joining us, amigo. We appreciate you being in here and your fantastic engagement and everything. Next up on the chat shoutouts, we've got none other than our good friend Pulse Ray Vision. Hey kids, what's up, Max? It's good to see you, amigo. Pulse Ray Vision, for those of you guys who don't know, is another Hexico Pulse Chain content creator. He does some excellent streams. I'm pretty sure he streams every day, if not like very close to every day. But shout out to Max. You do some great stuff, broski. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight.
He's the greatest adult astronaut ever.
Yes, and I need to learn that inside joke because that's fucking awesome. I love that. Greatest adult astronaut. Next up,
is that a sex joke or something like that?
I'm not entirely sure.
No. I just tease him because he's always like, "Hey, kids," and so I'm calling him an adult with like everything. I just put it next to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and he's doing that. He's doing something having to do with space in his content creation.
Yeah, anti-gravity is his project.
Right.
It's like it's a comic book whole thing. Go look it up. It's pretty entertaining. But yeah, it's just that.
Good stuff. Well, next up in chat shout-out, so we've got Mr. Obese Spark Driver. I took MK677, but it raised my blood pressure, so I quit. It is good that you learned this, and it is bad to have a raised blood pressure, so I'm glad that you did the thing that you needed to do to get the goals that you need accomplished. We find out one tool doesn't work, we put it off to the side, and we go get another tool. So excellent choice, Mr. Obese Spark Driver. Love to see it. Next up, we've got Crypto Compassion. Shout out to Crypto Compassion. Hey, y'all. Good to see you. Another cryptocurrency streamer and YouTuber. They do a show. Oh, man. I want to say it's at like 11 o'clock Pacific or something like that. But shout out to these guys. Crypto Compassion partnered up with Vets in Crypto. They do some excellent things. So go check them out. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Next up, we've got Gashko Hubaveka, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I might not be. But Gashko Hubaveka says, in the case of so-called medicines causing side effects which lead to... we were talking about, like, treating things instead of letting the body sort it out. In the case of so-called medicines causing side effects, which lead to other medications, other side effects lead to organ failures. This is a common procedure. He had another chat after that, which I can't find right now, but it was basically along the lines of a lot of the medicines treat the effect and not the cause, and so in so doing, they create more causes and they create more effects, and we just fall down this little flywheel of modern medicine of just introducing a solution that makes more problems.
I'll give you a question. I'm not going to answer it for you, but how much of what modern medicine therapies right now actually cure something?
Ooh.
I'll leave that all to y'all to do your due diligence on that one.
I'm
not
not
gonna
going to
give you the
single
answer.
percentages.
I'm not going to give you the answer to that, but yeah, you can answer however you want.
Yes, that's a good thing for the folks at home to think about. And I'll just say I spent 6 hours getting the fuck around, going to the Western medicine system, to the urgent cares and the ERs, the hospitals, the big places, just to get a fucking ER, and the problem was solved in 20 minutes by going to a third party. You pay them cash and they give you the product, and it's like, hey, is insurance in modern medicine the way to go? Who the fuck knows? It's up to you guys. So figure that out on your own. But next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got a fellow base crypto bro in the house. Hello to Chad fucking Donner Schwanz. Hello, fellow base crypto bros. Hello, Chad. Good to see you, amigo. Welcome to the chat. Glad we can have you in here. And next up in the chat shoutouts, Alan, shout out to our good friend, Mr. Zach Porter. Not everyone is as special as you, Alan, with the little heart emoji. And he's absolutely right. Not everyone is as special as you, Alan. You are special.
I don't know whether to take
own awesome way.
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or an
we're
insult.
taking it as a compliment because we're positive people and because we know that Zach is a good person. So good to see you, Zach. Welcome. A good
the
real
proper
life
context
friend
is
of
needed
mine.
for that one.
Yep. And everyone is special, especially Alan. You are super special, broski. And hey,
we're all
you're special enough. You're a special guest, bro. I don't know if you see it above your head, but it says special guest up there. So
Look above
we
you.
love you so much.
I am as
Even
special as
you.
I.
I mean, bro, look at how much like camera real estate you got. You got at least 3 times as much as me and Nate, bro. You're doing okay. You're doing all right. We fucking love it. But yeah, thank you, Zach Porter. It's good to see you, broski. I am excited to do an IRL with you here in the near future, amigo, if you are free. So there is that. And then next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Blake coming in saying he loves the stream. We love you too, Blake. Thank you for joining us here tonight.
I think I know
We're
who
glad
that is.
we could. Oh, Blake. Ah,
Yeah,
excellent.
one of my people.
Ah, yes. Well, if it's the Blake that I know, then it's good to see you, Blake, wherever you're at. Love you, broski, and I'm glad that you're loving the stream. This is excellent, and I love the positivity and everything. Next up, Chad John Swans. Ah, yes, a fellow seed oil disrespecter. Yep, that's what we all do here: is we disrespect the seed oils. And then finally, to finish it all off, we've got Mr. Hex Glenn. Good to see Dr. Alan Chen. Would love to see you back on stream. So I agree. I would love to have you back on some point, Alan. Perhaps we could go into the smorgasbord of the medical insurance world. Who knows? We'll talk about some great, awesome things coming up in the near future. But to be determined. Ooh, we can talk about crypto. It could be fun. We do talk about crypto.
Yeah,
so excellent.
You can teach me something.
Oh yes, there we go.
You know what we could do? We could talk about crypto and how bad it is for you because of how much stress it puts on you.
That's true.
Oh man, yeah,
100%.
dude. I've lost all my hair.
True that.
I'm a headband under this, but yes, you definitely do lose all your hair in the crypto sphere. Yes.
Oh well, I stole your hair. We know this.
Yeah, you did. That's why your hair's so long and mine's so short. Is because Nate's got he's got a hair implant teleporters on my head that takes all my hair follicles away. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, this concludes the informational part of our show. And now it's time for everyone to shout out what they're doing in the near future and where the folks at home can find them. So, Dr. Alan Chen, I've got your Instagram, I've got your YouTube, and I've got your link tree, the who.b for Unplugged MD. Is that a good place to start? And are you are you taking people's, like, if people want to reach out to you, where can they best find you?
So yeah, my Instagram is at unplugged.md, which is right there. And the YouTube channel is at Your Health Unplugged. And just in case I get canceled, it's also on Rumble. There's a shadow channel that does shows the exact same videos. Just in case, I'm also on Twitter at unplugged_doc, because unfortunately unplugged.md got taken already by somebody, and some imposter. Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually working on Twitter a little more, just because it's a lot of interesting stuff happens on Twitter that it doesn't on other platforms. So there's that. I'm assuming TikTok hasn't been banned yet, or it was banned and then it was banned and then it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So eventually a TikTok page will come. I just haven't gotten around the time to do it. Plus it came from China, so I don't know. So I'm always a little skeptical about that. But at any rate, yeah. So the YouTube channel, I'm trying to go hard on that right now. And I mentioned one of my projects to visit some farmers, because I think we underestimate the importance of good farming and not let it go to industrial farming. That's a big concern of ours these days. We sort of alluded to those points earlier in the show. That's one of my projects. There's another one that's going to be, I'm about to film it, just as a spoiler or a teaser. It's going to be called Why Psychiatric Medications Are a Red Flag for Dating. So that'll be that's a fun episode to film. So that'll be coming up in the near future. But yeah, I mean, these are the types of things that I just kind of go through and, just take it for what it's worth. You don't have to listen to everything I say. And you're welcome to disagree with me as well. There's something that you, if you want to, or if you just had a question, or have a comment on certain videos, you can, probably the best place would be Instagram, but any of the platforms that I just mentioned are good as well. So whichever you choose, I'll be able to see it, maybe some faster than others, but probably Twitter is the quickest way, because I do track that the most right now. But any rate, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of, I mean, I have a long list of ideas as to what else to put out. I don't have infinite time to get everything done. Hopefully that'll change in the future, where I'll have more time to do some more of these things. But with everything else that's going on in my life, it's hard to keep up with it. But yeah, there's so many things that I could talk about these days to take control of your own health. That's kind of another one of my lines. The other line would be stay vigilant, stay unplugged, and this is exactly what I mean. It's figuring out what your own reality at this point, and just stay out of the matrix, so to speak. Just keep questioning the narrative, keep thinking about what else could it be, or what else, or what other possibilities there are, because those are the main things. And it just keep always ask the question, keep doing that, and never stop doing that. And you'll end up finding out what's the best solution for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today, Mr. Dr. Alan Chen of Unplugged MD. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you folks at home for joining us as well. Before we go, though, Mr. Nate, the Ascending Man, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. I am the Ascending Man, Nate McGettit with the DJ Roundtable, and I am on X at Ascending Man 369. Go ahead and get in contact with me there, on Telegram as well, in this lovely place called the Degen Roundtable community chat. All you got to do is really just scan that little thing right there. You use a phone. I don't know if you know how to use a phone yet, but when you learn, you can go ahead and just scan that. Get in there. Get in there. And if you have any questions about crypto, you can learn a ton there, an absolute ton. Speaking of, if you want more crypto content, you can go ahead and just go over to my channel, which is the Ascending Man channel. I've got I'm going to start doing just regular videos that are a little bit quicker than, you know, spending 3 hours on a podcast, whereas this is a ton of fun. Sometimes what you need is just really quick content, really fast for specific knowledge on certain things. So I decided to kind of break that up a little bit, and looks like the cooking is making my
Oh, I thought it was me.
Is that you or is that me?
fire. Well, anyways, go ahead.
Time's up. Time's up. We're done. See you guys. Bye.
I thought it was the transmission room that I'm in. I'm in a fucking TV tower transmission room right now, and I was like, "Oh fuck!"
I thought
Am
it
I
was
gonna do some
me.
crazy shit. Oh man,
I thought it was me because I
Okay.
had to change my fire alarm.
Anyways, Will, take us
Yeah.
out. I'm gonna go fix
Okay.
this.
Excellent. Yes, mute your stuff. All
There's
right.
a that's a
Thank you.
sign. We gotta stop.
Yeah. Oh, that is too fucking funny. Oh, that is great. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Nate was talking about joining the Degen Roundtable. So for the folks at home who have not already done so, you guys can join the Degen Roundtable by going to t.me/DRT join now. Again, that is t.me/DRT join now.
There.
Right there. Or you can
Right
scan
there.
that fantastic QR code. All of those work. For those of you guys that are catching us on the replay or listening to us live, we greatly appreciate it. All of your time. It's all fantastic, fun, and excellent. As far as what's going on in the near future for the Degen Roundtable, on Friday, we are having a book club hosted by Zenith where we are covering The Creature from Jekyll Island, a 24-hour audio book. Holy smokes. This thing is fucking fantastic. I love and I hate this book because it has changed my life as far as how I understand the way that the world works, the way that money works, the way that the U.S. Federal Reserve works, the way that wars work. You know, it's just like the entire world that we grow up in is totally different than what I expected. I cannot recommend enough that everyone go and read The Creature from Jekyll Island because it's 24 hours out of your life, but you will be much smarter for it. So we are super stoked to cover it, and it's going to be awesome. So anyways, that's going to be happening on Friday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, just like this show today. For those of you guys that are brand new to the Degen Roundtable family, we stream every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I don't remember what time
Who
it
cares
starts
about
in
Mountain?
Australia.
Nobody
But
cares
yeah,
about Mountain.
we don't care about Mountain. Mountain doesn't exist. Sorry, Arizona. Or no, not
Utah.
Arizona.
Utah.
Yeah. All you guys over there in Colorado, right? Not even real. Not a real
Whatever.
place. But yeah, that's when the Degen Roundtable streams. You guys can find us here at youtube.com/@Degen Roundtable, and you can find us in the Telegram. We also do live calls on Tuesdays in our Telegram, and those are Telegram exclusive. So again, if you guys don't go ahead and hop on over into t.me/DRT join now, you will miss out on those Telegram calls. It's generally led by Agent J or Dace Northal. Oftentimes trackers in there as well. And they're always dumping alpha on what's going on with Bitcoin, what's going on with macro, what's going on at the Federal Reserve, CPI numbers, core inflation, all that good stuff. You can find all that happening in the Telegram. And usually we cover it on Sunday too, but the juicy alpha is always found first in the Telegram. So hop on over there if you guys are awesome and cool people and whatnot, and we will see you over there. Before we round off this show, we have a quick question from Gashka Hubaveka. Dr. Alan Chen, I have a question for you before you go. As you are interested in peptide, what is the smallest protein that you know? Oh, this is a trivia question.
What is the smallest protein?
Oh, is he
that
being
I
crass?
know?
I think he's being crass.
Huh?
If this is what I think it is, if he's suggesting sperm, that would be my guess. The smallest protein.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he has a little smiley face at the end of the question. Anyways, we're not going to derail the show any further. Thank you, Mr. Gashko.
Google it. Google it.
Yep. Thank you for derailing my way out here. So that's what's going on with the Degen Roundtable. For the folks at home who don't know who I am, my name is Will Stevenson. You guys can find all of my socials linked at will.pls.fyi. That is my little link tree that will take you everywhere. You guys can find me on X at Will Stevenson X. You guys can find me in Telegram at t.me/Will Stevenson with the W and S capitalized. And other than that, super simple. I ain't got nothing going on in the near future except I'm going back down to Texas as soon as this job in Oklahoma is done, which should be in the next day or so. So if you guys are in between Texas and Oklahoma, hit me up. I'm going to be hanging out with an amigo here in Oklahoma City, not too far in the near future. But thank you all for joining us. It's been super awesome, super fun. We've gone a little bit longer than we normally go today, so thank you for those of you guys who stuck around. I see there's still 13 of you guys watching right now, so we appreciate each and every single one of you. Mr. Allen, Dr. Allen, if you would like to stick around, we're going to be doing a debrief after the show is over, after we stop going live in the green room. And we can chit chat and hang out and do some stuff then. So just wait till after the outro video is done, and we will be right back in this very same place we are now.
But thanks, guys, for watching. And stay vigilant, stay unplugged.
Stay vigilant, stay unplugged. All right, so now it is time where I read the Degen Roundtable preamble to the Degen Roundtable Constitution, which I still have not written yet. But we, the debauched, in the pursuit of chaotic harmony, unite to form a more questionable union and establish strictly unregulated fun, and to ensure a steady flow of libations and provide for our collective shenanigans, all while promoting the art of bad decision makings and securing the blessings of free-spirited vibes to ourselves and future party animals, do hereby establish this glorious podcast to indulge in excess for all who live to dare who dare to live recklessly. Will you join us and turn down for what? I want to thank all of you for spending your valuable time with us here on the Degen Roundtable. As Agent J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you spending each and every second and minute of your valuable time right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the Degen Roundtable. Mr. Producer, because it's me, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to Degen responsibly.